Or
Hi, hello.
Hello?
long mic.
What?
Hello?
Howdy, howdy. I'll wait for people to get rid of their pre-roll ads and such. The discussion will begin momentarily. Scorpy's having slight difficulties with his extremely expensive microphone. He got it straight from the Smithsonian. It's basically like an artifact of ancient Roman times. It's the first microphone ever made.
Well, then... hold on. I need my phone for this because of our thing.
I got that shit pulled up.
I have it on my phone because I was the last to see it, and I... Okay. Wow, I wrote a lot. Or maybe it just looks like a lot because I typed it out on my phone.
So just so you know, my mine is, let's see, let's do a word count here. There's a way to do that in Google Docs, isn't there? Mine is about 1,200 words on mine.
I don't know what my word count is. I feel like it looks a lot because it's on my phone, but it might be a lot less
Well, that's
if
okay.
you pasted it into a real, like a regular, on a real computer, like a real document.
We're gonna know... you guys are gonna know the plot of this movie forwards and backwards by the end.
Maybe.
You're gonna know everything.
It's funny because reading it back on my phone, like just skimming what I wrote, I literally typed my shit out like the night after I saw it.
Yeah.
But, like while I was on the train. And even mine probably has gaps.
Oh
Like,
yeah. I mean, so...
Like it was in a lot of that movie was in one ear out the other.
Yeah. Alright, Scorpy's having slight technical difficulties. We're all doing good. We're just gonna wait for him to restart his computer and we'll
Hopefully his
get
mic
going.
works. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully. He does not have, he is not at his normal setup right now. But Scorpy deemed this so important that he was willing to go and purchase a shitty USB microphone, as you can hear.
Hello?
Hello.
We hear crackles.
There's some...
Oh, crackle? Wait.
Yeah,
hold on.
yep.
Oh my
Oh
god.
my god.
I don't. Wait, why is it? What?
Oh, it sounds crazy.
What does it sound like?
You sound like an alien that's getting shot at.
Are you sure you're coming through the microphone?
Yeah, you said that there's like tiny silencer pistols shooting you constantly. Dude, it'd be really unfortunate if your USB microphone somehow broke in like 3 days.
That is a possibility. This was like $15, so I'll try and fix it. Wait.
All right. So now you can see that Scorpy's having just a little bit of technical difficulties. Sounded kind of cool, but it was very loud.
Funny, but I
don't think it would.
hard to do the stream.
Yeah, it wouldn't be super conducive to discussion.
All right, chat. Make sure you clip that so Scorpy can watch it later.
Yeah.
Megalopolis sweep $1 megaillion. Yup.
Yeah, Megalopolis sweep. I don't think it's in theaters anymore. I think you already missed your chance to see it if you haven't seen it. No, I don't know. I checked the theater that I went and saw it at, and they are no longer showing it there.
Is this better?
That is
Yes,
better.
actually.
Say some more stuff.
Hello.
Okay, so-
I,
So you don't have the crackle, but you do sound like an alien.
okay. Wait, hold on.
It got better. So
What?
like,
Are you? I wonder. Like, I assume Scorpy's on his a laptop. I wonder, like, if it's the port he's
you know,
using.
I trust
don't know
him.
if that would matter.
Could he use his phone? I mean, he could if he wanted to.
Honestly, his phone
I'll,
might be better.
I will, you know.
His phone might legitimately be better.
We're figuring it out. It's okay. We're not in a rush here.
Alright, well, I don't know about Dallas, but here in Boston, you have, like... Yeah, it's still in theaters here. A lot of theaters, actually.
Okay. Maybe it was just, I mean, the theater that I went to see it specifically was no longer showing it anymore.
It probably has bigger staying power in, like, bigger cities. Well, that's not... Well, okay. Dallas is bigger than Boston, but I think Boston might be more condensed than Dallas, so, like, it might be more worth it for, like, for the theaters in Boston to show it. Boston's full of, you know, plenty of college students that want to go see a weirdo movie.
Yeah. The theater that I saw it in is kind of a smaller... It's almost like a boutique theater in a way, so I'm not super surprised. Honestly, I think most of the business from the theater that I went is like they mostly show like Bollywood movies. Like it's a lot of like Indian film there. And they just happen to also be showing Megalopolis, and they have nice chairs. So I was like, "Yep, we'll go there."
I wonder like, so I got to see this movie for free because earlier this year I went to go see a movie where the fire alarm got pulled, so I had, like, you know, pity tickets. So me and my friend Mike went to go see the movie, but we went to a theater that was, like, outside the city, that's, like, really in, like, the boony, not like in the middle of nowhere, but in, like, kind of like a suburbia kind of place. Which is, like, usually not our first pick, but like I said, we had free tickets, right? So
Free is free.
the theater was empty. The theater was empty besides, like, us two and then, like, another couple, and not a good look.
No.
I wonder if I went to a theater in the middle of Boston, if it would have more people watching.
Right. I mean, not to spoil anything, but Baaulp and me had a very different movie theater experience than Scorpy did. We had about the opposite experiences. So, all right, Scorpio is going to switch to another laptop and see if that helps. So, just, you know,
Well,
good things come to
wonder-
those who wait.
I would probably have a similar experience to Scorpio if I went to. There are, like, smaller, like, indie theaters in Boston that would definitely get the crowd to be like, you know, oh, let's go see Megalopolis because it's so weird. But
I really
like,
wonder what
I
the
don't want-
average person thought going in. Like, okay, you know, I don't want to discuss too much about the movie itself without Scorpio here, but I will say that at least I really only knew about the movie because my husband told me about it, and he said it was going to be really weird, and I just kind of trusted him on that. And go figure, it was really weird. So I'm wondering what, like, the average person who just goes to the movies and, like, picks a
just looked
movie
at the
when they get
category.
there, you know?
I just looked at the category. There's a game called Megalopolis SOS.
Yeah. I don't know what
Holy
it is.
shit.
It looks old. Is that something people do? As somebody who my high school job was working at a movie theater, yes. Well, I don't know anymore. Back in, like, 2009, lots of people would just go to the movies and just go see a movie, you know? You don't know what's playing. Maybe you don't know, like, everything that's playing.
I get the feeling that that absolutely does not happen anymore ever because of the way things just work now. But yeah, people used to do that. I used to do that. Me and my friends would, here in Boston, like, they give Boston public school students just like passes to take the train for free, like the subway. And so like, yeah, like Fridays or like whatever, we would just like after school, we would just go to the movie theater and we would like get on the, it was honestly kind of nostalgic. I don't think you could do any of this anymore. Not because like it's hard, but because like the world has just changed. Our little ritual was, if we had a free Friday, we would get on the subway for free because the school gave us passes. We would walk up and down the cars.
Hello.
We would,
Hey,
you
sound
better.
crisp and clear. You sound excellent.
I don't know what was I have like a little like small laptop, and I guess there wasn't enough power in that one.
I think
USB mic.
You sounded like like a gray or a green, perhaps, like a little.
Yeah, I don't know what was up with that.
Yeah, you sounded like you were trying to talk to us from Jupiter. Anyway, my quick story, and I'll get out of the way so we can start talking about this fucking movie. We used to have a nice little ritual where we would like get out of school. It would be Friday. We'd be like, let's go to the fucking movie theater. We would take the train for free because the school gave us passes, and then we would like look for a newspaper back when those were more ubiquitous. Because like people would finish reading the newspaper and would just like throw it
on the ground,
leave it on the train, and we would flip to the section where they would show what was playing in what theater, and we'd be like, oh yeah, let's go see this movie, and we would go. And that's a world. We don't live in a world that not much has changed about the world, but just enough that I feel like people who are 17 now don't get to do that.
Well, hey, I did that with this movie.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, Scorpy, if you want to. We've just been kind of talking about our theater experience with Megalopolis. If you want to share your experience with, before you even saw the movie.
Mine was like, I think the movie had only been out for like a day, and I went to like a physio session, and I was like, I don't feel good. I was like, oh, the physio hurt, and I was like, the physio hurt, and I was like kind of in a funk that day. So I was like, you know what? I was supposed to hang out with someone, and they bailed, and I was like, well, this entire night was like, now I have literally nothing to do tonight. So I was like walking around the city after physio, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go in the Cineplex and see it was like 4 p.m. and I saw, and Megalopolis was starting in 3 minutes, so I was like, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna get a ticket, and I went right in, sat down, the movie started. So I went there on a whim. I literally went in and I looked at the show times, and I was like, oh, it starts in 3 minutes, I'm just gonna get a ticket now. And
see, I was saying that your theater experience is basically the exact opposite of mine, which is I pre-ordered tickets. Me and Trevor, me and my husband went, and we saw the first possible showing that we could at the theater that we liked. And I bought the tickets like 2 days before. Like I was ready. I was like, all right, just in case this thing fills up. I don't know. It's going to be a weird movie. This is the opening night. This is like a pretty big theater. Like it's in a populated area. I'm going to pre-order my tickets. And every day after that, I would go and I'd check it because, it shows you all the seating. You can see who else bought tickets. And I'm like, all right, let's see. Check again. No tickets sold. Check again, no tickets sold. Check again, no tickets sold. By the time that we were driving to the theater, I checked one last time, 4 tickets. Me, my husband, an old man in a few rows behind us, and another guy in the very back row. That was the entire theater. It was dead empty. No, like, it was maybe my favorite theater experience I've ever had. Like, it was awesome. I loved it. I can't imagine. I mean, I can imagine seeing this in a packed theater and it just being an entirely different vibe, but seeing it basically like by yourself in a empty theater with just, you look around, you don't see another human soul, and it's just like, it was like, wow, this is special. I so enjoyed my time watching this movie because of the surrounding circumstances.
Now, I'm gonna be fair to this movie. Any movie that's off the beaten path probably does, because I thought about it. Any movie that is off the beaten path probably does similar numbers in theaters nowadays.
Probably.
I just think about like I forgot whether it was like a Mega 64 like Rocco story or someone else's story. But I remember like when Uncut Gems was in theaters and people were saying like people were walking out because they thought it was gonna be an Adam Sandler comedy, and it's like that's just how theater move. Like that's just the way it crumbles. Like that's just how the cookie crumbles now. It's like, oh, Francis Ford Coppola made a weird guy movie. Like even if this movie was good, like no one was gonna go because it doesn't have Avengers in it.
Yeah.
Well, I had the complete my theater was full, so you could have fooled me. I left that movie being like, wow, I can't believe it. On a Friday at 4 p.m.
Yeah. And I think that's good because now we have like the two perspectives both represented, the completely empty movie theater and the packed movie theater.
I don't know how badly I want to go see it again, but I'm debating like experiencing both ends of it where like it's still playing in Boston. I'm wondering if I should go to a showing in the middle of the city just to see like what the movie is like when there are other people there to watch it with.
You're actually thinking about seeing it again in theaters.
I'm just curious if there's a different vibe, but probably not.
I wonder if the differing experiences will have us having different reviews of the movie. But probably not, is my guess.
I've seen movies in empty theaters before. I've literally never had an experience like the one I had seeing this movie in a full theater because first of all, I've never really seen more than one person walk out of a movie before, and at least like 6 people walked out throughout this movie.
Wow.
I saw 6 people walk out. The only other time I saw people walk out were like when I saw couples going to see Jackass Forever on Valentine's Day. But like,
nice.
I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really? It didn't stir the flames of romance watching Steve-O take a shit on a diorama, but you don't know it's a diorama until they pan out.
Watching Preston Lacey
falling onto a regular sized bathroom.
Watching Preston Lacey work out in a airtight leather suit and then funneling the sweat into someone's mouth.
Oh God.
That was I'm not.
Is that where they walked out? Like they saw that and they're like, we're done. I don't want to see any more of this.
I have seen a lot of people walked out, and then I also walked out because me and my friends in high school were just like, let's just go to a movie, and we picked The Love Guru.
Oh, well.
Oh God, yeah.
But it's okay because we walked out and we immediately just walked into Iron Man that was just starting.
Perfect.
There you go.
Well, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so people walked out, but I've never been in a like movie theater where I felt like I was feeling people. I feel like I was coming to the realization that people were like they felt like they got scammed.
Yeah, I could see that.
That was like the vibe of the movie theater was like a bit of like a scared silence aside from the people laughing, but
yeah.
It was really tense.
I think the three of us it's good because we have run the gamut. We have Scorpio that paid to see it in a packed theater with people laughing at it, kind of like, they knew tongue in cheek. We got Trog who watched it in an empty theater and paid, and we have me who watched it in a near empty theater and
for free.
I spent 0 money on it.
Right.
So...
Well, I spent $4 on it. I have like this pass at this movie theater that lets me see like one free movie.
What the fuck?
That's pretty good.
So yeah, so it's like $10 a month, and it's like, well, you get a free movie and then like discounted tickets for like future stuff. So I ended up paying $3 to see this in IMAX.
Oh, gee. Oh, shit.
So I saw it in IMAX.
I see somebody in chat ask, is it worth a watch after being spoiled? This is a perfect segue into the start of the show. Welcome to the start.
How you can be spoiled.
Welcome
You
to
can't
the start
spoil
of the
this
show.
movie.
We're gonna talk about Megalopolis. Welcome
We
to
are
a
gonna
new
spoil
show.
it a lot.
It's called Movie Friends. We had to make a new show because we don't have a show where we talk about movies. So this one's Movie Friends now. And yes, so just to lay down some ground rules, this will be a full spoilers, no holds barred. We're going in.
We're gonna show the movie. You can watch it with
okay,
us.
well, I don't have clips because I don't think it is on streaming yet or anything. But
No, the full movie.
You kind of can't talk about this movie without, like, just spoiling all of it.
Oh, yeah,
'cause
I mean,
it's
well,
like,
but,
it's
okay.
crazy.
But I think that wraps back around to the person who asked, is it worth watching after being spoiled? I think, honestly, yeah. I think,
Yeah,
like, even
I
if
agree.
you know what, like, we are going to be describing in words what occurs in the film in order to discuss its characters, its themes, what we think about it. But words do not do this movie justice, in my opinion. It really is a full
I feel-
audio video experience from front to back, you know?
I also feel like there's a chance that you, if you didn't see it, and you listen to us say all these things, you might just straight up not believe us.
That's true.
Yeah, that's what I
You
was
might
about
know
to
what
say.
we're
You
lying
could-
about.
You could spoil this movie and like, it's happened before where like I've gotten spoiled on movies that were like games, and I was like, yeah, that's probably not a spoiler because that makes no sense. So I'm just gonna
Yeah,
not
like,
believe
right.
it. Like, if I
You are-
told you like, oh yeah, he ends up duplicating himself for a second while he's recovering from an injury. That's not
Yeah,
really
that
a
just
spoiler. 'Cause
happens.
it's like that makes no sense.
Multiple people in chat already brought up that Aubrey Plaza plays WoW Platinum.
That's
yeah,
true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If someone told me that, I'd be like, okay, that means nothing to me, so I don't feel spoiled.
So I will say, how about before we just dive on, because we do have a bit of a structure here. We all were tasked, we tasked each other as a group to write a plot synopsis of what we remember about Megalopolis at differing levels of having seen the movie. I wrote mine the furthest from having seen it. Baaulp wrote his the closest to having seen it, and Scorpy's somewhere in the middle. So
I wrote mine literally on the train while I was going home from the theater. So
and
I wrote mine. I think
in it, so that should
I-
tell you a lot.
I wrote mine. I started it 4 days after seeing it, and then I stopped halfway through, and then I finished the rest this morning. So it's gonna be very, probably very beginning heavy
yeah.
because I forgot a lot of it.
You know, I would say that the movie in itself is very beginning heavy in the first
Yeah.
place, so I feel like that may factor in. Before
It is, yeah, you're right, but in retrospect, it's fun that way because it feels
It
like
is.
a roller coaster.
it is so
It
right
does.
before we get into the full, this is your last chance. We're about to completely spoil as much as we can remember of the movie Megalopolis. This is your last getting off point. I want to ask the dais here. Do you recommend Do you recommend people go see this movie? Is this a
Yeah.
movie worth watching?
Yes, not because I think Francis Ford Coppola made a great movie, but because this feels like the movie equivalent of like a roller coaster. If you go, I feel like this movie would be really fun if you got told beforehand, don't expect a good movie, but just like enjoy it for like a guy spent $120 million of his own money to make a movie that he wrote back in like what, the 70s or 80s.
Yeah.
And,
The
like,
80s or something.
yeah, and just and like, you know, it was all, every last cent was his. He hired all the actors, like everything. It's like unfiltered and it feels like a roller coaster. Yeah, I would say watch it. Yeah.
I agree. I would also recommend this movie. I would recommend this movie because I don't think we will see anything else like it in decades. legitimately, I don't think we'll see another movie like this. Maybe ever. This could be a one of a kind, to be honest.
Yeah, I obviously I haven't seen Star Wars, the prequels, but I feel like it might be similar to that in that there was so much money that even the bad ideas got through, and that's like very rare. I feel like if a studio is like financing a movie, they're always like kind of, you know, trying to or like optimize the budget, and I feel like with this movie they were just like, nah, let's just spend as much as we can to make whatever I want to make.
It
and
definitely
the result is like a lot of stuff that shouldn't be there is there.
Yeah. It does have the prequel energy in the fact that, similar to George Lucas's place in making those movies, it's a lot of money and nobody there to tell him no. So
Yeah,
it's just it's
case,
spaghetti on the wall.
Yeah, in this case it was all his own money, so it's like he was financing
It's even
the
more,
whole thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
He
so
was
that
calling all the shots for better or for worse.
so you heard it here. That is the official spoiler-free review. Is we all recommend that you see it, but
Yeah.
also what we're about to say is probably going to make so little sense if you haven't seen the movie that you probably can go see it even if you watch this.
Like I said, it's like a roller coaster. Like, I can tell you what like the Superman roller coaster is like. That doesn't mean you don't need to go on it anymore.
Right.
You know, like, oh, and in the Bizarro ride, you go backwards. Well, like, that doesn't spoil the roller coaster.
It's true.
It's like
It's
a
true.
movie equivalent of a roller coaster.
You kind of have to experience it for yourself to get the breadth of its ingenuity, I suppose. Okay, so do we want to just dive right into the synopses? Who wants to go first?
I suggest we go like me, Trog, and then Scorpy, because like that's the like I wrote mine like the freshest, and then like we'll go from like, you know, further and further out in memory.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yeah. If you want to just go ahead, take it away.
Should I read mine, or should we like go like bit by bit and like compare notes along the way?
I honestly think we should just like read them. Let's like compare our notes, and then by the time that we've gone through it 3 times, we'll have a more complete version, and then we can start discussing our opinions.
Yeah. Feel free to chime in if I wrote anything funny. For context, again, I wrote mine the closest to seeing it. Like, this is like less than 2 hours after seeing the movie. And I was typing this while I was on the train, so I did like have to stop every once in a while, but whatever. Megalopolis summary. The film is set in the city of New Rome, which is pretty much New York, but also not.
Yeah, that's
It is implied that Rome never fell? ? But also people wave different variations of American flags, so who the hell knows?
Yeah.
Caesar is a genius who has won the Nobel Prize for inventing/finding megalonium.
It's called Megalon.
That's not called Megalon.
It's called Megalon.
Within 2 hours of watching the movie,
Megalonium.
I forgot what the magic MacGuffin substance was, and I call it megalonium, and the whole
That's
thing.
the TV channel I watch cartoons on.
Yeah. Well, sorry. Unfortunately, you cannot edit your synopsis after you write it. So.
He won the Nobel Prize for inventing/finding megalonium, which is a gold-colored metal that can move. It is better than concrete and steel, which is what we make stuff out of today.
Why did you write this like a school report?
Yeah, no, I love it. I love that. This is an awesome style.
I wasn't trying.
This is like the 5-paragraph essay.
You want to know why I wrote that? Because in the beginning, what's his name in the movie?
Which one? There's a lot of characters in this movie. You have to.
Esposito's character.
Okay, yeah.
Cicero.
Yeah.
He says that. He said there's one point where he says like, we make stuff out of steel and concrete.
Yep.
I think,
but not anymore. Now you make it out of Megalon.
He wants to make a whole city out of megalonium. So he's an architect. but has opponents in Cicero, the mayor of New Rome, a rival in Claudio, his cousin who wants to take him down, and his uncles take him down, and his uncle's money in bank, and Audrey Palazza, who plays a woman named Wow.
Yep.
Who is clearly meant to be a Cleopatra type character who wants to control all of them. Cicero's daughter, Julia, hates Caesar too, but turns into an ally when she finds out he can stop time. Neither of which matter because it's metaphorical. I don't know.
Writing "I don't know" in your summary is that I like that.
I mean, you tell me if the time stopping is a metaphor.
We'll get
or not.
into the time stopping. Oh, trust me. We have so much to talk about.
Julia finds out his last wife died, which is sad. The city hates Cicero. They elected him mayor, but boo him everywhere he goes.
I'm so glad you brought that up because legitimately, I thought that like there are parts of this movie that are like I truly believe constructed to be funny and are funny. That gag got me anytime. For the first 45 minutes of the movie, anytime the mayor, Juan Carlos Esposito, is on screen, there are audible boos put over, even if there like isn't a crowd. Like I swear,
it doesn't matter where he, like, I swear to God, there's a scene where he's like pretty much in his office.
He's like inside, and they're booing him. It's so like that gag, like that has to be on purpose. And I thought that was so funny. I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome.
There's a part. The one that really got me was there's a part where there's a parade and he's in the parade and they're booing him in the parade.
Yeah,
and
he's just walking by.
He's like not reacting at all.
This movie has the most. This movie has the most parades per hour of like any movie I've ever seen. There's like 5 parades by the end of the movie, I think. Sorry. Okay,
the movie
continue.
keeps reminding us that Claudio is fucking his sisters, which is gross and bad.
Yep.
The mayor wants affordable housing and to take care of problems now. He wants to do this by building casinos.
Yeah.
Caesar instead wants Megalopolis, which will actually help people and inspire everyone. Wow tries to seduce Caesar, but he's too smart and in love with his dead wife. So she married his uncle Crassius instead, but he is also smart and signs a prenup.
That does happen.
Yeah, I forgot about
that. Let's see. At the combined wedding reception, gladiator fight, chariot race, charity for Vestal virgins, Claudio sneaks in a video of Caesar and the not Taylor Swift Vestal virgin fucking. Caesar is too busy doing drugs and getting high while this happens. This causes a riot because she's not a virgin and also she's only 16. Julia finds out that the video is AI and or doctored, but the movie doesn't have them deny it? Question mark? Like they don't deny.
Well, no,
like,
I mean,
doesn't come out and say like that wasn't me. Like
that, you know. Like, we'll talk about the pacing decisions, I suppose.
Yeah,
we'll talk about the pacing.
Well, it's also that, but they also say like she's 26, but she's
let me keep reading.
Yeah.
The movie, Julie finds out that the video is AI and or doctored, but the movie doesn't have them deny it. But it's okay, because Julia finds evidence that she's actually a 23-year-old Indonesian, question mark?
Yeah, I remember that.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Reading between the lines there, Mr. Copolla.
That was weird. I'm not sure what that was supposed to mean, if anything.
That gets wrapped up. I just wrote that at the end.
Yep.
Caesar and Julia fall in love, because of course they do, and they are both telekinetic, but it doesn't matter. Let's see. At some point, a satellite called Carthage falls onto the city, but it literally doesn't matter. Poor people and immigrants hate Caesar and the mayor because Caesar keeps blowing up the old blowing up housing to build Megalopolis. Claudio takes advantage of this by campaigning in the slums, like the in real life Caesar. But the movie lets us know that this is actually bad because he immediately starts doing Nazi stuff and does a speech on top of a swastika-shaped tree stump?
Yeah.
Question mark?
That was insane.
I remember. This was one of the fun parts of watching this in like a full theater. They only show that for like a second. It's a very short shot, and I remember the movie was like silent up to that point, and then they show that, and you just hear a couple people go like, "Whoa!" For that 1 second of showing that tree stump, and I just heard a couple people in the movie theater go, "Whoa, what the fuck?"
Now they're gonna take it seriously. There's so much in the movie. It really plays with the idea of like, is what you're seeing what's happening in the canon of the story, or is it metaphorical? Like, there's a lot of visual stuff that is like jumping in between reality and like a heightened metaphorical version of reality.
Copolla definitely wanted this to be like a play, and I'll get to that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, he really wanted this to be a play. Well,
he wanted it to be everything, I think, and it kind of is.
This leads to an assassination attempt where a kid shoots Adam Driver in the face.
Yep.
But he is alive because they put the megalonium into him and it can heal people. While dying, the vision of his dead wife tells him it's okay to move on because of course she does. Wow. remembering that she signed a prenup, decides to seduce Claudio and take control of the bank from under Crassius. She freezes Caesar's bank account, but then they get it unfrozen by Crassius almost immediately.
Yep. Yep.
She shares her plan to take control and have Claudio become the bank's CEO via cunnilingus, and he agrees. They do the plan.
Yep.
Then poor immigrants and Nazis riot? Question mark.
Yeah, that was confusing. I have some thoughts about my confusion over the people of New Rome, I guess, and who they're supposed to represent. I don't know.
I'm not trying to be funny. Like, these question marks are because, like,
it's not clear.
Why did this happen in the movie?
It is not clear in the movie.
Yeah. Crassius is so shocked by the betrayal, he gets all stroked out. But then turns out he's not and kills WoW with a Spirit Halloween bow and arrow.
That's a great one.
He shoots Claudio in the butt, but doesn't kill him. Things get crazy, and the mayor has to escape. But at the end, Caesar makes a big speech and opens Megalopolis, and everyone is happy because they can live there now. No more problems because Megalopolis is so good. It has those airport things that you can stand on and not have to walk, but everywhere. They stop time one last time when they kissed during the not New Year's Eve ball drop.
I think it was supposed to be. I think it was New Year's Eve, to be fair.
Oh, is that what that was?
I think it was New Year's Eve.
And OMG, the baby has powers too. Then they want you to pledge allegiance to education. Yeah.
I will say, it is funny that you didn't bring up the baby until the very end. Like, that just, your description kind of left out that part.
I probably forgot to bring up that Adam Driver and the other character have a baby.
Well, here's the thing. I think that your recounting does bring up a very succinct point. And an issue I honestly have with the movie is that there is a character that is a major character and is given literally nothing to do anytime she's on screen ever, and just kind of exists to stand around.
Her job is to be Caesar's wife.
Yeah,
and agree with
just
him.
a horribly written character, just given literally nothing to work with. I feel bad for the actress because the character is written so nothing. The baby was
That's pretty
praying to
good.
Mecca.
Yeah,
That was pretty good.
I
That
feel
was a
like-
good. That was a you remembered a lot of stuff that I definitely.
Well, I
didn't,
wrote mine
so-
like 2 hours,
Yeah, it's
like
true.
less than 2 hours after
Yeah,
watching it.
that's,
So I would have. Although
I'm
think
also
it's
remembering I
funny
got a
that
lot of it wrong.
forgot-
Well, I want to
think
hear
it's funny
Scorpy's
that-
next. I want to hear
Okay,
yours.
fine. Where we go?
Scorpy, I think you should read yours.
Okay.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I definitely left off a lot of stuff. First of all, I went into this completely blind, so I didn't even know that it was like a Roman thing.
Yeah.
I had no idea that this was like. So the true surprise of seeing the movie open in like a club and it's like New York, I'm like, oh, okay, so it's modern day, and then Shia LaBeouf's character starts talking in like Shakespeare language, and I was like, is that just his character that's like that, and everyone else is normal, and he's just going around New York talking like a Shakespearean character?
He does do that for the beginning of the movie for basically no reason, because that doesn't happen the whole
All the
time.
characters do.
They
All the
kind of
characters-
fall in
but
and out of
but
it.
it's like really thick at the beginning.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
first
Yeah.
scene is like you just see him like crossing the street in New York, being like, "Where art thou going?" And I'm like, "What is
Yeah.
this movie?"
It starts
And
off
he has like
hard.
no eyebrows. All right, let me read my thing. So it says we are introduced to the city of blank. I think is New York.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically right.
Wow, I remembered the beginning. Yeah, I guess I wrote the beginning of this way closer to having seen the movie. So we are introduced to the city of blank, which I think is New York. Shia LaBeouf is in a club and tries to lick someone's thigh, and they go, ew. They leave the club, going into the street, going, woo! And Shia LaBeouf, who has now been revealed to have drawn on eyebrows and a rat tail, is speaking in Shakespearean prose, and I have no idea what he's saying.
You're getting into
Gus
the
Fring is in a
nitty-gritty.
car. Gus Fring, by the way, I couldn't remember his name, so it's all Gus Fring. in
Yeah,
my
I wrote
writing.
Gus Fring too. I couldn't remember the
Gus
character's
Fring is in
name.
a car and is like, hey ladies, don't go gallivanting, and one of the ladies is his daughter. Cut to Adam Driver playing around on top of a building and says, time stop, and he doesn't fall off of it.
Yeah.
I have no idea what happens after that. And then
Okay.
sometime after he's looking at a building demolition and stops time, the girl from the beginning at the party sees it and goes, whoa. They all then find themselves on some scaffolding or something at some point, and Caesar and Gus Fring argue about the direction of the city. Gus Fring wants order and maintenance of status quo. Caesar is a dreamer and wants his magic liquid to fix the world's problems. Gus Fring says you have to be realistic, don't dream big, it's too risky. The girl is Gus Fring's daughter and sees Caesar and is like, he's onto something. She stalks him and follows him and tries to see if he moved on from his wife dying. He hasn't, and goes to a bed where his wife is in it in his dreams and gives her flowers, but in real life the bed is empty.
Yeah.
She says he still loves her, so I guess he's trustworthy. She sneaks into Caesar's office pretending to be 15 years old, which just means she has a headscarf.
Yeah, that was weird.
And then she says she wants to help Caesar. He's untrusting and says, my mind is too great for you to handle. But she sticks with him, and then there's a team building montage.
Yeah. Lots of this
Caesar
movie
was-
is like 20% montage, by the way. Lots of montages.
Caesar was, I might be wrong about this. I thought Caesar was having an affair with Wow Platinum. So he was actually, I don't know if that was a thing
well,
or if she was just trying to seduce
Wow
him.
Platinum was his mistress. So like it was
Yeah,
they were
the
off
very-
the books.
Okay.
At the very, I mean, just to be brief, at the very beginning, they're like a couple, or like, yeah, like she's his mistress, but then like he immediately like gives up and tries to seduce the rest of his family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Wow Platinum is his mistress. And then Wow Platinum is the only other name aside from Caesar that I could remember.
It is a memorable one.
But she's kind of crazy, and he's like, nah, never mind. And she goes for an old rich guy and marries him. Shia LaBeouf is... I thought Shia LaBeouf was Caesar's son, but I think that's wrong.
No, he's
Yeah,
Crassus,
that's
Crassus's
very
son.
wrong. They're like cousins.
They're cousins. They're
he's
cousins.
He's a little troublemaker. He keeps prodding at Caesar. At Wow Platinum and the old guy's marriage, he shows an AI-generated clip of Caesar and Taylor Swift. who was well, not real Taylor Swift.
No, I know. But you're like you like boiled down the metaphor into like its most base form. Like you cut through all the bullshit.
She's supposed to be pure, and everyone gets mad because she's not pure anymore. The public turns on Caesar, and Shia LaBeouf uses this to try and become the mayor. Something happens that makes Caesar lose half his face, and he puts Megalon in it, and it allows him to multiply himself, and he groans and screams, only for one scene, and it's never shown again.
He gets shot.
Yeah, I thought he fell or something. I forgot he got shot.
How could you forget that? That's like such an insane like shock to the system.
Forgot that until Baaulp mentioned that.
Oh my gosh.
I thought like he just had like an accident or something, and then he like got injured. Yeah, he puts a Megalon in the hole in his face, and it allows him to multiply himself, and he groans, and he goes, "Rah!" And it's only for that one scene, and then he's completely fine.
And then he's fine.
That.
Yep.
You make it sound like
he's a mummy.
You make it seem like that part's like a monster movie.
It felt that way to me. Maybe
that's
why I wrote it like that.
It was kind of like Phantom of the Opera. Like I thought that was where it was gonna go, but no,
but
just
that was
stopped.
the scene. That was the scene that got the most laughs out of the theater I went to. Is him taking the bandage off and multiplying himself, and then him groaning and screaming.
Yeah,
everyone laughed at that.
That is a weird scene.
Yeah, that got like the whole theater laughing. Caesar and Gus Fring's daughter have a kid, and their bond allows Caesar to put a bunch of his weird liquid in Central Park, creating Megalopolis. He gives a speech saying, "If you cannot see a good future, you must build it for yourself." Him and Caesar and Gus Fring make up. They stand on an invisible box with Caesar's wife. She puts their child down on a magic carpet. The title card appears with a modified Pledge of Allegiance on it.
That's a beautiful retelling. That one, I think despite the differences between your two, you're both correct. You're both right.
Somehow, yeah.
I definitely skipped a lot of stuff in the middle because I just don't remember that, but
in your defense, the second half of this movie is fucking dull. The first half of this movie is all gas, and then the second half happens, and it's like, what happened? This is like a different movie entirely.
When I say it's a roller coaster, I'm not kidding. It's like insane, and then it starts to slow down, and then it like kind of like it gets slow, and then it starts to pick up, and then like there's a moment where I watched this with my friend Mike. I was like, Mike, how much longer is this movie? And he looked at his phone like, we got like 20 minutes left. I was like, how the fuck does this wrap up in 20 minutes?
Oh, yeah.
And the movie probably feels that way too, because they're like, oh shit, we only have 20 minutes.
Yeah, the pacing the pacing is everywhere. It is seriously everywhere. All right, should I read mine now?
Sure.
I think mine might be slightly longer. I guess I might have remembered more. Hopefully it doesn't drag. Since you've already heard this twice, I'll try and get through it quickly. Because I definitely forgot some stuff too. All right, here's my recounting. Adam Driver is on a roof. He proves to himself that he can stop and start time whenever he wants to and is really scared about it. There's a dance party and Shia LaBeouf is acting freaky AF. Gus Fring's daughter Julia sees Adam Driver stop time before blowing up a building for fun. There's a parade in the streets. Everybody hates Gus Fring, and an invisible crowd boos him anytime he's on screen. Adam Driver performs To Be or Not to Be from Shakespeare. He wants to build Megalopolis, a city of the future using a magical material called Megalon that he invented. But Gus Fring thinks that shit is lame. He wants to build a casino instead. Aubrey Plaza is a failing, trashy news reporter. She tries to suck off Adam Driver, but he's too busy thinking about architecture, so he leaves. Aubrey Plaza then decides to marry the richest man on Earth. Gus Fring's daughter Julia draws a mustache on a picture of Adam Driver and mails it to him, then immediately feels bad about it and goes to his house to pick it up before he can read it. They have a weird conversation in his apartment. Julia walks around a bunch of trash and has a prophetic vision of the future which looks like a TLC music video. Julia trails Adam Driver, who goes to a glowing flower shop and then a magic building where he hallucinates about his wife. Remember Aubrey Plaza wanting to marry the richest man on Earth? Well, she courts him off screen, and he also happens to be Adam Driver's uncle. They have a wedding in Madison Square Coliseum. There are jugglers and clowns. Adam Driver gets fucked up on drugs and wanders around while the rest of the scene happens. We're introduced to Vesta, a virginal 16-year-old girl who sings a song in the air while playing a ukulele. Old men pledge hundreds of millions of dollars to her. This part was confusing. Shia LaBeouf hates his cousin so much he tries to get him canceled by showing a video of Adam Driver fucking Vesta on the Jumbotron. Everyone gets super fucking pissed off, and Adam Driver gets beat up badly and put in jail. He tries to stop time and finds he's no longer able to. Julia finds Vesta's birth certificate and learns that she's not only not 16, she's not even from America at all. Yeah, she just does that in literally the next scene. You'd think that's what the rest of the movie would be about, but no. The conflict is set up in one scene and then resolved in the literal next scene. Get used to that. Adam Driver is released from prison but has totally lost his mojo. Julia and Adam Driver stand on top of a building and use the power of love to stop time together. By the way, there's a nuclear USSR satellite that's been mentioned offhandedly a couple times by this point. They keep saying it's going to crash harmlessly in the ocean or something. Well, guess what? It isn't. It's going to crash into New Rome badly. So it does. The movie continues. I think it's implied that crashing into the city makes Adam Driver start to build Megalopolis, but this connection is left as an exercise for the viewer because the movie basically moves on immediately. Adam Driver is in a tiny box on the bottom of the screen, and in some theaters he would talk to a guy who would walk up to the screen and ask him a question. I didn't get to see that version, so it was just kind of weird. Julia tells Adam Driver she is pregnant, and Gus Fring is hella pissed. Gus Fring goes to Adam Driver's house and tells him that he has information about his dead and missing wife and is willing to exchange it for Adam Driver breaking up with Julia. Oh yeah, Adam Driver's wife is dead. I forgot to mention it up until this point because it doesn't matter. It continues to not really matter for the remainder of the film. Meanwhile, Shia LaBeouf is getting more and more angry about Adam Driver. He starts doing a little bit of fascism. He tells his henchman, who has a bullseye tattoo on his forehead, to rid him of his meddlesome cousin. His henchman hires a 10-year-old boy to walk up to Adam Driver's car and shoot him right in the face. Adam Driver is shot right in the face, a fatal blow. Adam Driver is brought back to life immediately thanks to Megalon in the very next scene. Aubrey Plaza learns how to hypnotize people. She hypnotizes John Voight into freezing all of Adam Driver's bank accounts since he owns all the banks in the country. Adam Driver is very upset about this and goes to John Voight's house. Aubrey Plaza tries to hypnotize him but is interrupted. Adam Driver explains the situation to John Voight, who immediately fixes it. Problem solved! Aubrey Plaza and Shia LaBeouf team up to try to steal all the banks from John Voight. John Voight has a heart attack, and it has a heart attack in a sauna, which appears to be completely unrelated to their plan, and is just really convenient timing. Everybody in the city starts rioting because Shia LaBeouf is getting them all crazy and evil. Gus Fring and his family take a secret subway to safety. A person on the train in the middle of the scene walks over to Gus Fring and says, "Don't worry, sir. We have the riots under control," diffusing any possible tension from the movie. Because of that heart attack that John Voight has, Shia LaBeouf becomes the owner of all the banks. He and Aubrey Plaza go to visit him in his sickbed. John Voight shoots Aubrey Plaza in the heart with a bow and arrow, killing her, then shoots Shia LaBeouf in the ass with a bow and arrow 2 times. It turns out he just faked having a heart attack and was actually totally fine. He says he wants to be remembered as the most charitable man of all time, and he wants a statue. Also, he's going to give all his money to Adam Driver.
Yeah, he does that.
Adam Driver stands on top of a rock and gives a confusing and meandering speech about love in the future. Everyone in the city loves the speech so much they instantly turn into his side and decide that Megalopolis is the most dope shit ever. They chase down Shia LaBeouf, who has fled into the streets, and instantly kill him. I don't think I'm leaving out much out here. This all happens in the span of like 10 minutes in the movie. Megalopolis is completed. Adam Driver, Gus Fring, Gus Fring's wife, Julia, and Sunny Hope, who is Julia and Adam Driver's child, have another parade on New Year's Eve. They count down, and Adam Driver stops time one last time before the clock strikes midnight. The end. So that's
pledge allegiance to education.
And then they pledge allegiance to education.
They pledge allegiance to education.
It ends with that final cherry on top. That's just so good. It reads like shit too. I mean, like, I was indoctrinated. I had to give the Pledge of Allegiance in grade school, like a whole lot when I was a kid. But like, at least that flows. You know, it was designed to flow off the tongue. Coppola's Pledge of Education reads like shit. It like doesn't flow at all.
So now you have it. That is 3 different recountings of the literal plot of the movie. But Megalopolis is so much more than a series of images with sound underneath it. Megalopolis is trying to make a statement. What would you guys say is the thesis of Megalopolis? What is this movie trying to? What are the themes involved in this movie? What would you say?
I think it's in the tagline of the movie. It's you have to be a dreamer, build what you want to build.
Yeah, I could see that. Sort of a look to the future, kind of. It definitely.
If you don't see a better future, build it. I think that's the tagline of the movie.
Really? Well, there you go. This movie does not hide its themes. This movie wears its themes on its
really
sleeves.
Ham-fisted.
It's so ham-fisted that it, like, honestly, a lot of it comes off as comical because of how insanely on the nose every single thing that could have any sort of metaphorical, existence does.
It isn't just that this movie's ham-fisted, is that, like, anything that could, like, because you mentioned it before, like, anything that could have possibly given this movie any sense of nuance, like, that gets snipped in the bud.
Yeah.
Like, there's, like, oh my god, that happened, and then, like, oh, doesn't matter.
Right.
Oh my god, a satellite falls on the city, and, like, they just
move on.
Yeah, they just move on. Like, it's implied that, like, so many people die. It's awful, but then, like, nobody acts like that it happened at all.
Right. I will say, so, it's not a perfect movie. I think we all have some criticisms, and I think one of the biggest issues with the movie is that the pacing makes absolutely no sense. The first half of the movie is a breakneck pace, introducing the world and the characters, and it's moving 9 million miles an hour up until the big Colosseum scene, right? That's kind of like, to me, the Colosseum scene, like, the movie is kind of separated into acts, and I would say, like, that is the end of Act 1, and then Adam Driver going to prison and losing his power to stop time that doesn't matter. That's, like, sort of the start of Act 2. And the movie, once it gets to Act 2, kind of doesn't seem to know what it wants to be about anymore, because it does just keep setting up plot points that are then immediately solved in the literal next scene. Like, multiple times things are set up to be like, okay, all right, this is what the rest of the movie is going to be about. Adam Driver got sent to jail. His cousin has doctored footage. The rest of this movie is going to be him trying to clear his name. Oh, no, wait, they just solved that off screen and he's out of prison, and also everybody likes him now again. Like, they just forgot or didn't care. It's like, that happens 7 times. Like, oh, they freeze his bank accounts, so he goes and gets them unfrozen in the next scene. There's there's no conflict in the second half of the movie. The thing that was driving me crazy, I think I actually almost, like, said something or held my hands up when there's the scene with Gus Fring on the subway with his family, and they literally have another character, like a security guard, walk up to them in the middle of their scene and say, "We have the riots under control. There's no problem," or something to that effect. I was like, are you fucking sick? Can you not have tension in this movie for 10 seconds? Must you always interrupt your own movie by telling everybody, don't worry, if in case you were worried that a movie was about to start happening, it's not gonna start happening. You're good. We're just gonna keep on moving forward through the beats. It was crazy. Like, I thought that whole subway scene was going to be a setup where it's like, oh, this guy's telling him that it's okay because they're leading him into a trap. They're like, oh, the rioters, the people in the streets are going to get Gus Fring and they're going to kill him. No, that doesn't happen. He's fine. They take a train to safety and the movie continues. It happens so many times. It was driving me crazy watching it.
Yeah, like what Scorpy said, I agree. Like, that's really like the only, like, because you ask like, oh, what is this movie about? Like, that's it. It's like, oh, there's, you don't know when a better world is being built, and also smart people are cool. I guess
bro, you gotta dream big. I remember I'm pretty sure one of the lines that Caesar says in the movie is like, "Don't let the now destroy the forever," or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's like,
yeah, it's like, and like, you can super tell, like you don't need to know. You kind of like, this is a good movie to watch if you want to know what like present Francis Ford Coppola is about. Because
yeah,
I feel like you get a glimpse into like his mind where it's like, oh, this, you know, like you can just like read between the lines a lot about what he thinks of himself. Maybe.
It's a movie which posits that there is a better tomorrow, but doesn't really offer any kind of insightful commentary on like how we might achieve that, or like anything like that. It kind of just
smart people to invent something like Megalonium.
I guess. I mean, it kind of just says like, here's what I got from the movie, because the second half was like so strangely devoid of any conflict. It almost was to me like, is this movie just saying like the future will be better and you don't have to worry about it? Because everything that happens in the second half is immediately solved. So it's like, oh, is it trying to say that like, yeah, the future will be great. Don't worry about it. Nothing bad will happen. Just keep going on. Like that, it just seems like such a weird. Yeah. If the thesis of your movie is we need to look towards a better tomorrow, it seems strange to me to be so devoid of conflict in the second half.
I watched this movie last, and like I got hints of what the movie was going to be like from you guys. So like going in, I knew like, okay, he's not gonna have anything nuanced to say about our world. Like this,
yeah.
Like that's what the mindset I had going in. Like he's just gonna say things, but he's not gonna say anything about them.
I've described this movie multiple times to multiple people as wide as an ocean and as deep as a puddle. There are a lot of things that are touched on in this movie. A lot of like societal stuff. Like we didn't really go into it in our overviews because honestly it's basically irrelevant to the plot, but the whole thing with the Vesta character and like, oh, she's this perfect virginal angel who represents purity, and New Rome has always had a virginal Vesta who represents everything good about our city, and then it turns out that she was just fucking a guy, and she's not even 16, and she's not a virgin, and like
He's not American.
And not American. It's like, and it like turns into this sort of like Miley Cyrus sort of pastiche where there's one short intercut. It's not even a scene. It's shorter than that, where it's just like a news anchor that's just like, in other news, Vesta is starting her new career as a blah, 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 blah. Like, and it shows her like all tatted up and like looking rough, and she's like playing the electric guitar, and it's like, okay, I see what you're trying to say, but why is this in the movie? Like, what's happening? Like you're making a commentary on like pop stars, I guess, or like the perception of pop stars in society versus like, I don't know.
I think, like I said, I think as deep, because you already said it's as like, you know, this movie's not particularly deep. I think it just, I think Francis Ford Coppola is old, and I think this movie is the equivalent of like, oh, look at, like whenever you talk to an old guy and they're like, look at this, isn't this crazy? And then that's it. Like, you know, they don't have anything nuanced to say about it. They're like, isn't this, oh my god, the world now. This is that, but the old person happens to be a prolific director and has $120 million on hand to make it into a movie. You know, like it's that. It's like, oh, isn't this messed up? Okay, you know.
One thing that
where is the world coming to?
One thing I think is really...
I think, like, with the Rome stuff, I think he definitely wanted this movie to be, like, a play, because he thinks that's cool.
Oh, for
and
sure.
I think with, like, the Rome stuff, I think it's, like, you know, he's like, ooh, Rome fell almost, but then Julius Caesar came in and led them to a new era, and what if America is like that? Okay.
Yep. That's it. Yeah, that is kind of the beginning and the end of the idea. It's sort of like he had a lot of ideas but didn't really elaborate on any of them in a way that makes them interesting to think about. Like, you can say we need the dreamers of today to lead us to a future, but past that singular sentence, the movie doesn't really give you anything to chew on in terms of, like, coming to your own conclusions about that thought. It kind of just posits that thought exists and then moves on to the next one over and over again.
Is there anything in the movie, like, I can kind of appreciate, not to, like, just, I feel like it's not interesting to just, like, endlessly dunk on this movie, although it kind of maybe deserves it. I don't know. But
it's
like,
a discussion. It's not a dunking.
Yeah, it's like, I appreciate it on some level, because he didn't pony up all of his money.
Me too, for sure.
And, like, it's clear that, like, he wants to, like, push, like, I get the feeling he wants to, like, you know, he knows he's old. This is like you know, like, he's old. He wants to, like, just make the shit he wants to make, and he wants, like, you know, he wants, like, a real piece of art out there. It's just maybe more people should have been involved to, like, maybe trim the 30. No, not 30. If you wrote this in the 70s, it's a 50-year-old script.
Yeah, and I'm sure some of it was
like benefited from some of that. I appreciate it. Like, I appreciate that it was, like, kind of like a play, right? Like, as crazy. Oh my god, we didn't even bring it up yet.
Yeah,
I don't think it happened at any of our theaters. I think you would have only got it if you saw this in, like, LA. But there is a part of this movie where, like, Adam Driver's character is having a press conference, and if you saw this in LA, I think this only happened in LA.
It was
but
certain
the other
theaters.
Part, just play the audio. There's a part of this movie where a real person is supposed to walk up to the screen in the theater, like an actor that's been hired, and is supposed to talk to Adam Driver's character, like, for, like, literally breaking the fourth wall as a part of the movie. Like, someone dressed up goes up and talks to Adam Driver, like, rehearsed lines and everything, and it's like, okay, that's crazy. I kind of appreciate that.
It was a cool idea.
That this movie is trying to be like a play. Like, what other movie is gonna do that?
But I will say,
it's executed poorly.
Yeah, I was disappointed in that part, because it's very obvious when that was supposed to happen, because they literally have Adam Driver in a tiny box at the bottom of the frame of the movie.
Is so funny.
It's really weird if you don't know that that's what that was supposed to be. It literally looks like an editing mistake.
That's so funny.
And whenever
I laughed so hard at that.
That was so. Whenever I heard that there was, like, a part where a guy is supposed to come out and talk to the movie, I was like, this is gonna be the best movie ever made. But I was honestly a little disappointed, because it is just a line. Like, it's a guy walks out and says one line. I thought I had hyped it up in my head for no reason. This isn't really the movie's fault, but I had hyped it up in my head like some guy was going to come out and, like, have a full back and forth conversation with Adam Driver in the movie, and that's not what it is at all. It's just one line.
I went to a really, no, snooty is the right word. I went to a high school that was really up its own ass. And this movie hits different maybe for me, because I had to learn, I had it went all in one ear out the other, but I had 3 years of Latin in high school. I read tons of Shakespeare because it was in our English classes. So this and we learned a whole bunch about Roman history. So this movie hits a little different for me. That part is something like out of Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Like Shakespeare would do shit like that, where he'd have like a dude in the audience talk up to the stage. Like that's something that Shakespeare would do. This movie is full of like soliloquies where it's like the character's talking to itself, but like he's really just like addressing the audience.
Right.
Like if it was the stage play, like they'd be looking at the audience and they would like step aside and start talking, and like that doesn't super translate well in a movie where like it's like, okay, we have the camera here and like, you know, the other characters in the background. Like in a stage play, like they could dim the lights and have a spotlight just on one character, and the character could like literally step aside from the other characters on the stage and talk to the audience, right? It'd be like super explicit, and it doesn't really work out well in the movie. He like really reaches for the stars in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, there's definitely like, multiple scenes.
That's the other reason why I say it's worth watching, because it's like it definitely is the most interesting movie I'll watch this year. Like it has
absolutely
the most interesting ideas.
There's definitely, talking about the play thing, there's definitely scenes that you can imagine. Specifically, there are scenes where he's like on top of something. It's not really clear what he's on top of. He's like, it's some kind of structure. Maybe it's part of Megalopolis, or maybe it's like the top of his apartment or something, but he's like standing up there, and you can definitely see where, like, were this to be a play, this would be a set that they would put on the play. And in the movie, it almost comes off as it's supposed to make you think of a play because the background looks very fake. Like, it doesn't come off to me as like bad CGI. It comes off as like they wanted this to look like a backdrop, like in a play. Like it's not supposed to be a CGI background.
But it just ends up looking like a sci-fi original movie.
Yeah, the CGI, the level of CGI is really all over the place in the movie. I don't know, maybe there's like part of that was budgetary constraints, but there's some stuff that looks really good. Like there are multiple extended sequences of like crazy visual effects going on, like Adam Driver having like a spirit connection and shit, and that stuff looks honestly really cool. Like it's very visually interesting. But then other times he's like standing on top of a building and the background just looks like a Xbox game. Like, it's like, what's going on? Like, so I can only imagine that it was supposed to be purposeful.
Do you guys remember what that, like, thing looks like? Because it's, like, so crazy. You say, like, oh, is this supposed to be on top of his apartment? But, like,
it's hard to know what it is.
Yeah.
He's just, like, standing on a giant clock, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a giant clock. And then there's like steel beams like around it that they like walk on. It's like they're like suspended in the air, and it's like, where is this?
It is completely like, it doesn't look like there's any way up or down. Like it's almost like a liminal space which exists for the benefit of the audience. Like it doesn't even feel like it's part of the reality of the movie, because the only characters that are ever there are Adam Driver and Julia.
Yeah, it's Adam Driver's Mind Palace.
Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like. And there's a lot of this movie that is like, it really is experimental in that it kind of just, one thing I like about the movie is that it doesn't hold your hand. It's not going to explain things to you. It doesn't treat you like you're dumb. It just keeps going, and it's kind of up to you to decide what's happening, you know?
It doesn't treat you like you're dumb, but the movie also isn't that smart.
The movie is dumb, but it doesn't treat you like you're dumb. So like that much I can respect, you know?
I remember, I forgot about this scene when he's standing on top of the clock. He looks through what was it, like a spyglass.
Yeah.
and he's putting shapes in front of it, and then Julia asks like, "What are you doing?" He says, "I think I'm gonna put a sports stadium over there."
Yeah.
And they like never really talk about that again.
That's a good segue to something I wanted to talk about, which is what it like the kind of like the it's the title, right? Like Megalopolis, right? It's the old city is bad and it's crumbling and Adam Driver wants to build Megalopolis. What do you guys make of Megalopolis? Because that in of itself is like a big part of the movie.
So,
like they do talk about it and they talk about what it's like and they show it at the end. What do you guys think of Megalopolis?
I know exactly. He puts a bunch of weird liquid in Central. It's literally just Central Park by the end of the movie.
Yeah. Megalopolis is definitely not supposed to be analyzed because what they show of... So, okay, they posit that Adam Driver has this utopic idea of what the future is, and it's like the movie wants you to just accept the fact that it is utopia, but what it visually shows you is a bunch of weird buildings, orbs that you can drive, and people movers on the ground, and that's
like everywhere.
That's the beginning and end of
when
it.
I said that it's a city where everything is those things at the airports that move.
Yeah.
Like,
so it's definitely not like, and that's something that I've seen a lot of people like make fun of because it is extremely low hanging fruit, because it is honestly hilarious that the movie is like, the whole movie is about this thing. It's like, we want to make Megalopolis, but then all it has to show you for its idea of a utopic future is like mass transit, kind of.
You get to drive a ball
and projections.
Right, yeah. And like houses that look like giant leaf petals. Like that's kind of like, it.
It's kind of implied that the Megalon is like it's like it can be organic, but it can also be like inorganic.
It does
so
whatever
like
the movie needs it to do.
It's basically just like a magic substance.
Yeah.
And like I remember a part when he's explaining what Megalopolis will be in Julia, and they go into like the TLC music video, and Julia's like, "Wow! When it rains, the city can grow an awning to shield me from the rain."
Yeah.
Like it's meant to like be a living city that like can grow
like
and move.
It's somewhere in between organic plant matter and like construction material in some way.
Yeah,
the movie doesn't waste any time trying to convince you meaningfully that it does anything in particular.
Yeah,
it does whatever the movie needs it to do.
Yeah, it's also like it's for me, it's like the part of the movie that like reminds you of like when he wrote it. Because, like, if you ask someone today, like, what a future city would be like, it would not be a city where we drive around in balls and there's people movers everywhere.
It's an extremely funny take on the utopic future. It's like, yep, this is utopia. You can drive a ball.
I'm sure if you were explaining that idea to someone in the 70s, they'd be like, oh my god, that's crazy.
Oh, we can drive balls around?
Yeah,
incredible.
Everyone gets a ball. You don't have to walk. Free housing because it like grows out of a leaf or something.
One thing okay, so I want to talk about something that like Baaulp said, I don't want the whole thing. You know, we've said some good, we've said some bad, but this is something that honestly has stuck with me a lot since I've seen it, and I kind of can't get it out of my head. The women in this movie are like borderline offensive. Like,
yes,
the way that they are written, the script that Francis Ford Coppola has written is borderline offensive, I would say. There are two major women character. One of them is given... Okay, I think it's like 2. I'll give it 2.5, basically.
Well, yeah, okay, fair. 2.5.
There's 2.5 major women characters in the movie. There is Julia. Julia? I think it's Julia.
Yeah.
Who is kind of just exists to I would say she exists to tell the audience that Adam Driver is a good guy. Like, that Adam Driver, that you can trust him, right? Like, she kind of always just goes around with whatever he is doing. I was honestly, I don't know if I respect the movie for this or not, but I was just sitting there waiting for, like, you guys know what a movie is, right? Like, in a movie, you might expect there to be a time where it's like, oh, the major love interest characters have a fight and they're gonna break up, or like something happens and there's a misunderstanding or something like that. That doesn't happen in this movie. As soon as Adam Driver and Julia hook up, they are inseparable. Nothing bad happens to their relationship. They're totally fine the whole movie.
The movie tries to have conflict, but then, like you said, like,
it gets in its own way. It doesn't let it do it.
Every time it happens, it immediately gets waved away, because there is some attempt at conflict where it's like, Julia is like the daughter of Cicero, Giancarlo Esposito, and like Caesar Caesar and like Cicero are enemies, right? So it's like they hate each other, but then he's in love with his daughter,
right? And it's so, classic stuff, you know. It's like,
yeah, but then, like, anytime where it would matter, it wouldn't matter,
right?
Like they like there's multiple parts where it's like, you know, like, it's like, you better break up with him, but then they don't, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I mean, it's set up so that, like, Cicero shows up, gives Caesar a letter that says, I have information here. This is basically my confession, saying, because none of us brought this up because it's kind of not that important in the movie, but the reason why Caesar and Cicero dislike each other at the start of the movie is because before the events of the movie, Caesar was a suspect in his own wife's murder, basically. Yeah. Because what happened was his wife drove her car off a bridge, and they said they couldn't find the body. And so that somehow, I guess, implicated Caesar, or like allowed them to attempt to implicate Caesar. And Cicero was like he was the DA. He was the DA for that, and he was prosecuting him. But so then this scene happens where Cicero shows up and he's like, look, here is my confession. Your wife's body wasn't missing. We found it and I hid it so that I could try to put you in jail. And he gives him this letter and he says, like, I will give you this letter if you stop dating my daughter, right? Totally reasonable setup.
They're like, at that point, well, no, they don't ever get married, do they?
No, I mean, they don't get, no, they do. They get married. Fucking, fucking Morpheus. Oh, by the way, Morpheus is in this movie. None of us mentioned that character. Morpheus is in this movie as like, as Adam Driver's butler, and Morpheus marries, he performs the ceremony to marry Adam Driver and Julia in the back of a car. Some point in the second half of the movie. The thing is, I remember a lot of this movie, but I don't remember the order of events because the second half is so meandering that, like, nothing leads into another thing.
The second half of the movie, except for the ending, you could honestly rearrange everything and it wouldn't matter.
No.
Pretty much. Like someone has said in chat, it was a cutaway scene. They got married in a single shot. Like, you can literally, like, rearrange the second half of the movie to play out in any order, and it wouldn't matter.
But so what I was saying is
okay. In fact, it so doesn't matter. Let me ask you this: does he get married before or after he gets shot?
I think it's after. But I don't know. I legitimately do not remember if it was before or after that. I could not tell you. I have no idea. So when that whole thing is set up where it's like, okay, the mayor's here. He's basically blackmailing himself. He's saying like, Adam Driver, if you break up with my daughter right now and you tell her that you don't love her anymore, I will, like, I will give you this piece of information that will bring peace to your heart because you'll finally have closure on your wife. And then that scene ends and he doesn't do it. Like, you would think, again, this was another moment where I was like, okay, this is the rest of the movie. Like, he's going to take him up on that offer, or at least think about it and, like, do something to make Julia think that he doesn't love him. No, that doesn't happen. That just, like, that scene begins, happens, and ends, and is completely nothing. There was no point. It doesn't even really show Adam Driver like rejecting the idea. The scene just kind of happens and they kind of just leave it hanging in the air, and then he just doesn't do anything. They don't even talk about it afterwards. Yeah, the letter is not brought up at all.
She doesn't find the letter. Like, nah.
There's nothing.
Nah,
there's
that's a great way to think of this movie. It's like, nah, it doesn't matter.
It's like I said, the second half, the pacing makes no sense. That it is allergic to tension in the second half. Anytime anything is set up, it's immediately resolved. It is bizarre. Oh, the whole reason I went down this is just talking about the female characters in the movie. So you have Julia, who basically exists to do nothing. And then you have Wow Platinum, who is the most stereotypical, like, she-witch, conniving, backstabbing, evil woman that wants money. It's extremely in the past, I guess I would say. The way that the women characters are written in this movie reminds you that Francis Ford Coppola is like an 80-year-old dude.
You're forgetting about the 0.5 female character, which is Adam Driver's dead wife, who, like, she's dead for the events of the movie, but I count her as half a character because there's 3 parts. There's Adam Driver sees her in the dream, is like, and then Julie like, oh, he still loves her. And then there's also, he gets like another vision where like she tells him it's okay to bang another girl. And then the last part where like, and this is like I'm agreeing with you that the portrayal, like the woman, like it's just like, it's awful.
They're nothing. Yeah, like, they're just badly written characters.
Show her like her dead naked body like being pulled out of one of those morgue things, and like that's the last time you see like her in the movie.
Yeah. There's also a couple, like, ancillary characters. Like, I mean, Cicero has a wife, but, like, she doesn't really... All she kind of exists to do is kind of push Gus Fring to be more open to ideas, I guess.
Half of the movie, her entire role is to try to get Gus Fring to stand on one of those people movers when he's too afraid to.
Right, yeah. Gus Fring, that's like a thing that happens in multiple scenes, is Gus Fring is too afraid to step on the moving sidewalk, which represents the path to the future. Like I said, this movie is so on the nose, it's honestly comical, like, throughout the whole thing. It's like, oh, what could this possibly represent? The old boomer is too afraid to step into the new technology and into the future. And then at the end of the movie, he finally does it, and he does a big smile, and he's happy. So I just wanted to complain about that, because honestly, that stuck with me the most. Is like, the more I thought about the plot and the characters, I was like, man, they really should have had like one. I mean, they should have just given Julia more to do, really. She really just exists. She doesn't really have a characterization. She's just kind of there.
She's in the best scene of the movie.
Which one's that?
The one where he's like, I don't know what entitles you.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's the one everybody's seen. Entitles me?
Yes.
Yes.
Entitles me? Yes.
The idea that there's in the uncut version of the movie, the idea that they're supposed to do that for 40 minutes is like, that's a joke. I don't believe that. I
don't know where you even read that. There's no way you're getting false information. That cannot be real.
Did you read that like Mad Magazine?
Like
he read that on Boing Boing.
I don't believe him.
It must be Boing Boing. Are you on Boing Boing again, Baaulp?
That was just a Twitter joke? Okay.
Well, here's the thing about that scene, going back to talking about it being like a play, that whole scene does play out like another scene in a play. Like, it's two characters who are just talking to each other and like walking around a set. And like, that's it. Like, there's not a whole lot of camera movement. And even the dialogue is like very play-like.
This is where like like, I don't hate him for trying, but like, I would think I would have figured Francis Ford Coppola of all people would know, like, trying to do a movie like this where it's like trying to be a play, and I think that's why they give up halfway through. Like, Francis Ford Coppola of all people should know, like, that wouldn't really work to make a good movie. Who plays like Alfred in the Batman movies? What's his name?
Michael Caine.
Yeah.
Michael Caine. Yeah. There's he had a show on BBC. This is like, you can find this on YouTube. I think it's with BBC. He had this show like when he was way younger. This is like from the 70s or like early 80s, where, you know, he's been acting for a long ass fucking time. And I guess he still is, maybe. He might be retired now. But, like, Michael Caine has this show, and you can find episodes of this on YouTube where it's pretty interesting. I watched it for, like, tips for my own shit, where the show is basically him teaching people who do plays in England, like in London, like Shakespeare and things like that, and teaching them about how to act instead in movies. And it's like super insightful, because here's this like really intelligent actor with tons of experience who probably started off doing plays but like does movies and TV now, and he's like, oh, here's how you want to talk to the camera. And the whole show is just like him talking to these young actors, going like, in a play you would do this, and you know, because you have the audience here, and you know, you really just have the camera, so you don't want to do that. Here's how you would talk differently. You want to talk more realistically because, you know, blah, 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 blah. I figured Francis Ford Coppola, of all people, would know, like, yeah, like, that wouldn't work to have these actors act like they were in a play. Like, could they do that? Yeah, they could, but it doesn't work as well. Like, you know, like, it kind of makes a lot of those scenes, like, I don't want to feel too armchair directory, but it makes them feel like really like just odd. And like,
yeah, I mean,
some of the set pieces are cool. Like, there's this like, but it just doesn't like go anywhere. I mean,
one thing I love about, I mean, the visual design of the movie is honestly awesome. Like, I love like all the sets, and like the whole Colosseum scene is like really impressive visually. Like, the movie looks really good. I mean, some of the CGI is, you know, it's here or there, but the physical sets are awesome.
It looks cool, like, wow, okay, like a fantasy, like, not New York, not Rome kind of place.
It does a good job of like making it feel like another world.
Clowns, and you're just watching the clowns perform, and they're green screened.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. But the visual design is definitely like a high point of the movie. If nothing else, if you watch this movie, you will at least be entertained by like how things look, or you can at least like respect how things look, you know? Oh shit, I wanted to say something else, but I forgot. What were you talking about before that? You were talking about the play. I can't remember.
This is something that he does once for like 5 seconds and never does again, but I remember this scene where he's sitting at his desk and he's like twisting these like cubes or pyramids, and he's like looking at projections of his memories, and it's never addressed again.
There are so many fucking moments of that. I'm starting to remember all of them. There's
I felt like that was like some heavy rain, like
it is heavy rain.
Exactly. Yeah, that's Norman Jayden.
In this movie.
It likes to remind you every once in a while that it is a sci-fi movie, but like in a really ham-fisted way.
There is a part in this. There are so many parts like that in this movie. There's a part where him and Julie are like running around their apartment. They're like kind of like, you know, flirting with each other, like playing with each other, but like they're doing it by like throwing this ball back and forth with their mind.
I forgot about that. Yeah, there's like a floating ball that like, they're like Julia like hits him in the head with a floating ball.
They never do that ever again.
No,
there's
like
one scene where they're both telekinetic, and then it never matters ever again.
I want to give. I kind of want to take a moment to discuss, just as we go down, kind of like the characters. Like, what did you guys think of Shia LaBeouf's performance and like the character and stuff? I think it's very. I'm almost of two minds about it, so I want to hear what you guys think about it.
I think the cast is split in half, and I think it's like some combination of the writing, the directing, and their own performance. And I think like the cast is split in half, where it's like half of them are like either the performance is like dog shit, or they're not trying and they're like, let's just get the check and get out of here, you know?
Yeah.
And then the other half is like clearly trying, and the performance isn't bad. I assume what they were given. Shia LaBeouf is not my favorite person in real life, but his performance, I think, given what he was maybe told to do, probably on the better side. Like, it's not bad.
I think he
falls into the role, you know?
For what he was given, I honestly, I think he did a good job with, I mean, it's pretty hammy, but like, what else can you do with that character?
He was probably told to do
that, exactly. You know? But I think the characterization of, oh shit, what's the character's name? Hold on.
Was it Claudio?
Claudio was his character, and he basically just exists as like the foil, like the okay. Mayor Cicero is like, you know, he butts heads with Adam Driver, but in the end he turns over a new leaf and is good. Shia LaBeouf exists as like basically just an irreprehensible dickhead who the movie wants you to hate and celebrate whenever he dies.
The like, okay, there are like, we were like praising like, ooh, this is a cool set piece. There are some parts of this movie where it is tell not show, and like literally one of the first, like the movie literally tells you like with the satellite, the movie is like, oh, a satellite's gonna fall.
Yes. Yeah, so, the whole fucking satellite shit. It's not even about Shia LaBeouf, but that satellite, they literally talk about it like 2 times. Like they bring it up, maybe it was 3 times even. They bring it up 3 times before it happens, and you just know it's like, it's gonna fall on the city. Like you keep, like, why would you show it this many times if it isn't gonna fall on the city? To the point where I thought it wasn't gonna fall on the city after the 3rd time, because I was like, okay, are they gonna subvert my expectations? But no, it does exactly what you think is gonna happen.
The movie does a lot of tell not show, and like the movie straight up goes like, it's rumored he's fucking his sisters.
Yeah, they keep bringing that up. I thought that was weird. I mean, I get that maybe it was just something to make him more reprehensible, I guess.
That, and also it's like, ooh, it's like Rome. So I guess so. It's like Rome. He's doing some debauchery. He's snorting coke off girls' cleavage.
It's so funny because
you know, it's like a lot of people talk about like, yes, there is one scene where Shia LaBeouf's character like cross dresses, and a lot of people are like, ooh, what was Francis Ford Coppola trying to say? It's like, I don't think he's trying to say anything. I think he's like, oh, it's like Rome, but not.
Yeah, I don't even think he was trying to say anything with the costuming. I think he was.
And with cross dress. Yeah. So I want that in my movie because it's like Rome, but not. And I think that's the extent of it.
Yeah.
Because they don't even like.
It doesn't come off as like malicious to me. It was like, it just came off as like they kind of just wanted to show that he's really eccentric, and so like that's just what they did.
Not a good person.
Yeah.
I've seen like other Shia LaBeouf movies, and about halfway through this movie, it feels like he gives up and he just starts talking like like in his normal voice.
Absolutely, for sure.
But it reminded me of what's his name? Mark Ruffalo in was it Pretty Things?
I
The
have no
Emma Stone
idea.
movie. Not Little Things,
Pretty people, pretty rocks, pretty flowers.
Oh, I forget the title of
Poor
the Poor
Things.
Things. Yeah, Poor Things. It reminds me of Mark Ruffalo in that movie where like he'll just be talking in a scene and he'll just drop his accent and he'll just keep going. And that's what was happening with that character. Because in the first 20 minutes of that movie, he is basically a different character. And I don't know. I thought that was very entertaining, but he was just acting like Shia LaBeouf at a certain point.
Yeah, at a certain that almost like coincides with like, so the first half of the movie, it kind of just, Shia LaBeouf's character exists as like a debaucherous, like ne'er-do-well, sort of just
like
burnout, like rich parents type, like has done nothing with his life. His uncle or his dad, I guess,
it's implied that like he just parties all day and
he doesn't
wastes
do
money
anything.
and does coke.
And then in the second half of the movie, he like makes I mean, I think it's like they explicitly, the character himself says like, you know, he like gets a haircut. He's like trying to do something. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, is that I feel like the messaging around Shia LaBeouf's character is very confusing, specifically to the point of his sort of like fascist rise to populism that was definitely, let me just put it this way. There is a shot in the movie where somebody is wearing a red hat that says, "Make New Rome Great Again." It is not being subtle about the analog to Donald Trump and like the rise of populism and fascism in the movie. So the thing that's confusing is that he goes and talks to the people, right? Like there's a big scene where there's like, they kind of set up Adam Driver as kind of being a dickhead because he's like demolishing low income housing to build Megalopolis.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's like,
it's weird. It's a weird thing to have in your movie.
Like, it's weird because like, we'll go back to your point real quick, but like, it is weird because like, okay, everyone hates Cicero, the mayor.
Yeah.
Everyone hates him. And like, I can kind of see why, because like, he's like, we need it. We can't think about, we got to fix the problems today. And I'm going to build that by building casinos. Like, okay, like that's dumb and shitty. So that makes sense. But then like people also hate Adam Driver because he wants to build Megalopolis and to make room for, he's demolishing low income housing.
Yeah.
And so it's like, what is that? Is Copolla saying something? Is he saying anything?
I don't know. I'll give Coppola the benefit of the doubt and think that what he's probably trying to say is like, hey, we may have to like, you know, there may be some bad times before the good times. I don't think he's explicitly saying we should demolish low-income housing and build new houses. So the confusing part for me involving Shia LaBeouf's character is he is in the streets with all of these displaced people, right?
Yeah.
And he explicitly says like he has a henchman with a bullseye tattoo on his forehead. Not sure what that was supposed to mean, to be honest. He's got a henchman and his henchman is like, "Oh, I can't believe we're down here." And
well, no, it wasn't a bullseye. It was like,
it was basically, it was a netherworld swastika, basically. Like that's what you could read it as.
No, not even. It's like a real Nazi
Oh, it's a
symbol.
real one?
Like
okay, well that shows what I know.
Yeah, it's such like an actual real world Nazi symbol. It's like there's like how do I say it? Like I feel like he doesn't have a tattoo, and then immediately they're like covered in like Nazi shit.
Right, yeah. So anyway, this guy, the guy with the Nazi tattoo is like, "Oh, I can't believe you're with these people." And then Shia LaBeouf is the one like, "No, these are good people. Like these are people who have lost their way. They need, you know, like I'm for the people. I want to be for the people." He starts like giving out money and doing like a big speech.
He says that like these are the poor and immigrants.
Yeah,
but they can vote. So
yeah, exactly. So that's why I'm kind of confused. Is it's like, okay, so now you're showing that Adam Driver is displacing poor and immigrants and the guy who we're supposed to be rooting against is the one saying like, no, these are not bad people. These are important. Like, I want to reach these people. I want to help them, kind of. I mean, I guess he doesn't explicitly say he wants to help them, but
he definitely just wants to use them to get political power.
But the movie doesn't do a good job of fully realizing that. It almost felt like, I thought he was like turning over a new leaf until they showed a swastika carved into a tree trunk, and it became very explicit. I was like, oh, okay.
For people, for people who like didn't see it, it's not like a tree trunk with a swastika carved into it. Like, it's as if you made a swastika in Blender and gave it like a tree texture.
Yeah.
Like, it is in the shape of like it's something out of like a political cartoon.
Yeah, it's very explicit that it's very explicitly fascism, populism. Like, but that's why I'm really confused, is because it's like, so are you saying that? The thing that throws me off is they're saying like, it's like, we're reaching out to the poor and the immigrants and the displaced people, but then also they're the people that start like rioting and destroying things. Like, that just came off as like, did you think this messaging through? Like, what? I don't think you're trying to say what this looks like, but you're not doing a good job of this.
For me, again, like, for me, it's like, I think Copolla is just old and like rich. Like yeah. I think this is another one of those cases where it's like,
he's a bit out of touch.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would say so. Like, I don't think he's saying, like, because I had the same thought, you know, mainly because I am a poor minority myself, you know, like, part of me was like, what is he trying to say? But then I like remembered, like, he wrote this like in the 70s. He's old and he's rich. I don't think he's saying much of anything. I think he's like, ooh, you know, you let these people be poor with nothing going on, and people like Shia LaBeouf's character will swoop in and turn them into bad people. Like, you know, it's like it's another element. It's another instance of like, isn't that messed up? Right. Okay.
I think at the end of the day, it's very obvious that the messaging is fascism is bad. Like, he goes out of his way to show the fascism as a bad thing. It's just that the way, the weird twisting path the movie takes to get to that point is confusing when you stop and actually think about it. The movie doesn't want you to think about it because it's going at 9 million miles an hour and just going from scene to scene over and over. But like, if you stop to think about it, it just comes off as weird, I guess.
For me, it's like, oh, Copolla just doesn't watch the news. Like, all these
right,
dumb things kind of like break through. Like, someone told him like, oh, why is this guy making, oh, Trump has those guys that wear the red hats. Oh, I'll have that in my movie.
Yeah.
You know, like, he doesn't watch the news.
It's,
you know, that's what I think. Like,
yeah,
he's just oblivious to shit. And the movie's already like this. I'm not gonna change it.
This is completely unrelated to what we were just talking about, but it just popped in my head, and I want to remember it. This is like such a small detail, and I don't even know if either of you two would even remember this, but at some point early on in the movie, there is a short scene which is from the perspective of like, you are watching the news, and it's Wow Platinum interviewing Crassus. And it's kind of introducing Crassus as like, it explicitly says like, this is the richest guy on earth. Like, he is rich, he owns all the banks. And
he is the bank.
What I remember from that scene, and I hope I'm not memory holing myself, I hope this is actually in the movie, because in my head, I remember a ticker, like a lower third at the bottom that was like, it said like net worth, and it's just a number going up super fast, and I think it was in like the quadrillions, and I just
that was there.
I thought that was so funny. I was like, not only is this guy rich, he is like rich beyond like any person even in our reality has ever been rich by like 1,000 times. Like, it was insane. It was like an amount of money that is unfathomable ever.
I think if Coppola is saying anything explicit in this movie, one of them would be rich people are good.
I don't know. It's very funny because Crassus's character, he's the richest guy on Earth, but he doesn't really. I think he kind of shows, or okay, here's how I'm going to interpret his character: is that he shows that just having a lot of money isn't enough, right? Because he has a lot of money and has existed in the city, but the city is still going to shit, right? Like it takes Adam Driver's character to kind of like take that money and do something with it. But I do think it's hilarious that like his last line in the movie is like, I want to be remembered as the most charitable person of all time. I'm giving all my money to Adam Driver and you need to build a statue of me. I swear he says something like that. I swear he says like, I'm giving him the patent to Megalon, all of my money, and I want a statue. Which is just very funny to me that's like, that character kind of exists in a weird spot in the movie. He kind of doesn't do anything. Like he moves the plot along by being around.
He doesn't move. Yeah, he doesn't. He barely helps to move the plot along, but he also has the funniest scenes.
He does. I mean, I think Jon Voight does a good job. It's a funny character. His whole interaction with WoW Platinum is very funny because it really is. The movie has WoW Platinum break up essentially with Adam Driver, and then look at a TV and look at Crassus and be like, I'm gonna marry him. And then like they're married and like 2 scenes later, like that just happens completely off screen. That is not important.
Happened in the movie, and then like Adam Driver's like, oh, I gotta go to my uncle's wedding.
Yeah,
He's
like
marrying my former mistress.
WoW Platinum says, I am going to do this, and then she immediately goes and does that. It's
really?
Like that's
she's
it.
Like one of the most capable characters in the movie.
Yeah, she's capable up until the point where she
almost gets it.
She is, I mean, she's shown as ruthless and evil, but she accomplishes her goals up until the point where she just dies in what I would basically call an ass pull. Like, it was funny that it happened, but I was kind of like, really? That's how this movie ends? Like, that's what happens to the villains, is that a guy pretends to have a boner and then pulls out a bow and arrow, and they don't even like try to dodge it. They don't even like, it's not anything. He pulls out the bow and arrow, like says 2 lines and then shoots her, and she doesn't duck or anything. She just gets shot and dies.
Yeah, it's a very like, that's another thing that makes it feel like a play.
Yeah.
Where it's like, if you saw that in a play, it'd be like, okay, that's fine, because like it's a play, right? Like a character whips out a bow and arrow and is like, I've had enough of you, bitch, and shoots her and kills her. I'm not making a joke, by the way. He probably says something.
I think he says something like that. I don't remember the exact line, but
yeah. And like, you know, and like if you were in an audience for a play, it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, because it's like, yeah, your suspension of disbelief. But in a movie, it does not work at all, because so the setup is, at this point, he's like, they didn't like explicitly say what it was. You called it a heart attack. I thought he had like a stroke.
Yeah, I don't know. It was something that
like, at this point,
it's confusing.
It's like, at this point, it's like, okay, everyone thinks he had a stroke, so he's like all debilitated, but he's not. He's just acting to get the upper hand. And so he like lays in bed, he's like pretending to have a stroke, and he's like, wow, Platinum, every time I see you, I get a boner. Also,
he says the word boner. That is not, that he actually says boner.
This happens during Halloween, but they don't call it Halloween. They call it Saturnalia, because
I can't believe you remembered that. I don't remember that part at all. That was supposed to be during Halloween?
It's pretty much Halloween. Like it's a festival where they all dress up as characters, but they call it Saturnalia.
Okay.
Saturday. I
don't
thought
remember
Saturday
that.
Alien was
No,
dressed up.
I don't remember that
Yeah, but who
part, to
the
be
fuck
honest.
cares? They all are dressed up. It's not Halloween. Anyway, I don't know. It's like a combination. They like dress up as characters, but then they do a gift exchange. It doesn't fucking
There
matter.
is an extended montage sequence of Christmas and Hanukkah at one point, which is like kind of confusing.
Yeah.
Kind of comes out of nowhere, but you know.
Yeah, but then like, but anyway, he's like, they're all dressed up like characters, and he's like dressed up as like Robin Hood, which is funny because he's the guy that owns the bank. And he's like, oh wow, platinum, you know, something like every time I hate you, bitch, but every time I see you, I get a boner. And like you can see like what is implied to be his penis under the blanket, but then like he takes it off and it's like an arrow.
It's
and
like
then
literally like a Cupid bow. Like I think he has like heart arrows.
Yeah, and then he shoots her like right in the heart and she dies.
Yeah.
That's it. She
That
dies.
was it. That the character has been dealt with once again. Okay, I think the context that you're leaving out is this happens right after the scene where Shia LaBeouf and Aubrey Plaza accomplish the goal they've been trying to accomplish for the entire second half of the movie. Like you think like they've won. They got like they wanted control of the banks. They have control of the banks now. Like the whole thing was a ploy to have control of the banks. And then in the very next scene, she gets killed. There's not even any time to even process the fact that like, oh, the villains might win. You don't even get that much time to think about it. It's just there, and then she gets shot with a bow and arrow in a joke scene, and then the movie moves on.
Yeah, and it like the movie is like, I mean, we're like repeating ourselves at this point, but the movie really is. It's like blue balling itself. Like anytime the movie could get interesting, it goes like, nah.
Yeah, specifically the second half.
It really does. That's the element of the movie that really does feel like it's like someone's like one specific, like Scorpy said, it's like Star Wars effect where it's like it's one person literally, you know, going like, and then I want this to happen, and because it's cool, and then this happens. You know, okay.
Yeah,
he's paying for everything.
It almost comes off as like, I don't know if amateurish is the right word. It's almost like a sense of. Here's what I'll call it: a sense of childlike wonder. Where if you ask an 8-year-old or even younger than that, if you ask like a 4-year-old to tell you a story, right? They're gonna be like. And then this happens, and then this happens, and then they go here, and then they do this, and they aren't, and you know that like the ideas aren't really connected in a way that makes it possible to go from one idea to the next, but the kid is just going. That's what the movie feels like.
I don't. It doesn't feel amateurish. I wouldn't call it that, but it definitely feels like someone like having wrote a script where it's like, oh, and then the bad guys do this. Oh wait, but I don't want the bad guys to win, and I'm already at the end, so he shoots her with a bow and arrow.
Yeah, the ending of the movie makes me mad. Like I was upset watching it, and I get upset every time I think about the ending because it's so completely unearned, given the first 2 hours of the movie. It's literally Adam Driver stands on a big rock and gives a speech that doesn't really say anything. And that saves the world. That's it. Like that's how it ends. I don't even remember.
I love that scene.
What were your favorite moments, Scorpio? Like what to you? What stuck out, if you can remember?
The scene at the very beginning, after they leave that like club where Shia LaBeouf is crossing the street, like trying
and
to
yelling.
I guess like hit on Julie or whatever. That scene to me is like so, because nothing about it just looks like a street of New York. Nothing about the set looks like Roman anything, so he just looks insane. He has like no eyebrows, and he's like speaking like Roman.
He's wearing like a weird hat, I feel like, or something.
Like, yeah, he's like he has like no eyebrows, and he's like speaking like Shakespearean like prose, and like it makes no sense. It just looks insane. but I think my favorite there's two favorite moments. There's the very short scene where he unwraps his head and he multiplies himself.
Oh, yeah, we didn't even talk about that.
And then when he's sitting down with his head wrapped, and I forget who's talking to him, but they're like making him upset, and he just keeps going like.
He goes, no.
It was Shia LaBeouf. I mean, those two scenes are like back to back.
Yeah, those two were. That was the point where I was just like, okay, I'm like, anything could happen in this movie, and I'm happy now because that was like.
So like.
It looks like they just took that from a different movie entirely.
Right.
That was.
I'm gonna just spoil the whole thing about that. I'm just gonna repeat it because like. For people who didn't watch it, you guys have to know like what the fuck happened. So like, you know, Francis Ford Coppola has read enough scripts to know that like halfway through the movie, like, you know, that's your main character is supposed to be like at the low point and then like back on the up. So like, all of his like, you know, his uncle owns like every bank on the planet, I guess. So like all of his accounts have been frozen. But they took it over and like froze his accounts.
Well, no. Sorry, that's not even exactly right. What happens is while Platinum off-screen learns how to use hypnosis and hypnotizes Crassus into freezing Adam Driver's bank accounts without him realizing it. So that's how his bank accounts gets frozen. Is while Platinum suddenly knows how to do that, and then doesn't do it ever again in the movie.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's. I don't remember, but maybe she does that towards the end where she convinces Shia LaBeouf to like, the two of them should like take over the bank.
No, she just fucks him. That's not. There's no hypnosis involved there. She literally is just like, eat my pussy and let's go do this shit. Yeah, exactly. Like, she literally just walks up to Shia LaBeouf and starts doing, you know, slut things, and Shia LaBeouf is like, "Fuck yeah, I'll have sex with you." Like,
I wouldn't be surprised if that was the script. That was the script, word for word. That was a scene that also got a lot of laughs in the movie theater.
Yeah, that one felt like. That one felt different in an empty theater. I was like, because it's not graphic, you know, but you do see Shia LaBeouf's bush. There, you see a little bit of bush.
They also show Audrey Plaza's butt, but like,
they show her butt, but whatever. I can see a butt anywhere. It's like
worse than like the Titanic, you know? It's like, oh, they're fucking.
That I think people laughed because this was pretty pervasive throughout most of the movie, but you could never tell if it's supposed to be funny or not because everything's kind of delivered in a weird way. But that's happening, and it's like a pretty serious like plot point. But then he's going like, "Oh, well, Auntie Wow," and that just made people laugh in the theater.
Yeah,
I think it was I think it was supposed to be like ridiculous, at least.
Yeah.
Maybe not specifically like super funny, but it was supposed to be like kind of dumb. Like, I think it was supposed to show that Shia LaBeouf's character is just kind of stupid.
That's another part where I'm like, okay, he wanted this to be a play, because in a play you are like meant to be like more over the top, you know?
Yeah.
But it doesn't work here. It just makes it awkward and weird.
Aubrey Plaza comes in and she's like, "Do you want to fuck me?" And he's like, "I want to fuck you." And she's like, "You gotta kill your uncle. Or you gotta kill your dad." Basically.
Another part that got laughs that I think was probably intentional, but maybe I couldn't tell watching it, but looking back, it was probably intentional, where they're like, "Oh, what are you gonna call the baby?" And she's like, "If it's a girl, I'll call her Hope
Sunny Hope.
Sunny Hope."
Which is a ridiculous fucking name.
If it's a girl, I'll call her Sunny Hope. And they're like, if it's a boy, it's like, if it's a boy, I'll call him Francis.
Yeah, they do go there. I'm not sure. Well, the weird thing is that the mayor's name is like Franklin. They have like a short exchange about that too. So it's like, I don't know. It's confusing. It's hard to tell if it's supposed to be like, you know, is it supposed to be? Well, no, because it doesn't make any sense because Francis Ford Coppola is 80 years old and that's a baby. So I don't know. I don't know what it's trying to say. I like just thought about it in my head and I'm like, whatever.
I think what he's trying to say.
Maybe it's just supposed to be a wink and a nod.
Also move during, because you forgot that baby can also move during time stop, and that's what the time stop stuff is. Absolutely, just a metaphor.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It's like, oh, artists, they can stop time. Because there's one part where Julia says like, where like after Julia, they don't show any of it. It's very tell not show. But Julia's like, I've been working for you for so long, and you've taught me that all artists can stop time. And musicians, they manipulate time. You know, it's like the time stop stuff is meant to be a metaphor for how creative type people are creative. So I think maybe the baby, if it was a boy, was called. You know, I think Francis Ford Coppola is like, well, I'm an artist too, and artists are cool.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, yeah. He does literally say at some point, he's like, I only reserve my time for people who could think about literature and architecture and art.
Yeah,
that was Francis Ford Coppola speaking through his script.
It definitely it gets a little fart sniffy at times, for sure.
You think you could plow through the recesses of my Amazonian mind?
Everybody loves that scene. I guess it's because it's the one that like got released. So if you haven't seen the movie, that's the only scene you've seen.
It is one of the best scenes. It is.
It's a very
one
interesting scene.
It's one of the weirdest. One of the weirdest vibes. You can't really like.
Yeah.
That scene is like very hard to like put into any sort of box.
That's the first scene where I like you see the Julia character like having an extended dialogue sequence. I was like, oh no, the writing is what's going on?
Really,
like what's happening?
I remember when he says like, oh, come back when you have the time, and then she turns around and she just says, yes, I saw you stop time.
Yeah.
And the scene just ends.
And he's like, what?
Well, I mean, I think the implication there is that like, you know, if she could stop time, then she's also, you know, worthy to be around him because only artists can stop time and manipulate time.
It kind of doesn't make sense. Yeah, I mean, it really, like, the kickoff of those two characters is Adam Driver is demolishing low-income housing, and as the building is being demolished, he stops time for fun, I guess.
His ability.
He just does it to test his ability, and Julia just happens to be there, and she doesn't get stopped in time for some reason.
Yeah, that's the thing where it's like, okay, I think that's my favorite part of the movie, which is like, okay, the time stop stuff is a metaphor for being a creative. Like I said, Julia literally flat out says like, oh, but Caesar, you taught me so much about how, you know, great artists can, you know, all creativity is manipulating time, and, you know, musicians, you know, musicians and scientists and, writers, you know, put time on the, you know, all that, you know, a bunch of just mumbo jumbo about it, right? So it's a metaphor. But like, what does he do? They stop time to prove that he can stop time. He stops time right at the beginning to be like, ooh,
time,
you know, to like before he like to
he
stop himself
risks
from like
his
falling
life
off the building, like as like a test of his abilities. And then like while he's demolishing a building, he stops time multiple times to like, you know, it's almost like it's like a superhero like testing their abilities.
Yeah.
But then like it's like, but like, again, I think it's just Francis Ford Coppola being like, ooh, this would be cool. Because if you try to read into it, it's like, it's almost like he's a super villain. And it's like, well, like a normal person would like stop time to like
help anybody.
Even, yeah. And like, okay, but so it's like, okay, well, it's not real. He's not really stopping time. It's a metaphor. But then if it's a metaphor, why is he like stopping time to watch a building, to watch low-income housing get demolished slower? Like he's savoring
it's like when you're playing a game and there's like something happening, you just go into the photo mode and mess around a little bit.
Yeah, he just wanted to see it. He needed inspiration.
Just having fun, you know, just messing around.
It's Yeah, the whole time stop stuff is very funny because the movie has the scene where he's on the roof and the scene where he's demolishing the building like very close together. So you kind of think that that's going to be like important, but it doesn't really come back up all that often. And then at the end, they stop time, except this time everybody does stop except the baby, who I guess... The ending of that movie is so fucking weird. Like,
it's so good.
It comes out of nowhere, and I'm still trying to think, like, okay, what does... In the fiction of the movie, that's like a bad thing, because there's nobody there to restop time, so the baby is just in a world where the time isn't moving.
Okay, that's what... Again, I think the time stop stuff is all just a metaphor.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
they don't... Like... Yeah, like he stops, like when the building is getting demolished, he's like stopping and starting time over and over again just for like the fun of it, I guess.
Yeah.
But like it never plays into like any real thing that happens in the movie, right? Like he doesn't like whenever like any bad thing happens, he doesn't like try to use it. So I was like, okay, it's a metaphor. So the baby being able to move when time is stopped, like I think it just means that like, ooh, the baby's smart too. The baby
represents like the future in a way. Yeah, like your legacy, your future, like the future of the world kind of stuff.
We do have to talk about the ending though, not the baby being able to move during time stop, but the fucking, hold on, I took a picture of it. I forgot. I took a blanket picture of it. We have the real ending of the movie we have to talk about is, you know, they do that, it fades, and then it cuts, and then what fades in is what we've all been calling the pledge to education.
Yes.
I took a picture of it. I will read it for all of you.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance. Like I said, this reads like dog shit. It's not like it's not as good as.
And in the movie, this is being said out loud by like a choir.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of, a whole bunch of people saying it at once.
Yeah, I pledge allegiance to our human family and to all the species that we protect. One Earth, indivisible, with long life, education, and justice for all.
Yeah. I pledge allegiance to education. Perfect. No notes. That shit was extremely funny in the theater.
Which is like that part just like me and Mike were trying to be sort of respectful to like the other two people in the theater because they were like older.
Yeah.
But like when that happened, I think we just like started laughing. Like, yeah. We couldn't. Like, what does that mean? What does this mean?
Yeah, none of it means anything. It's very silly. It was very funny because that whole end of the movie is like so grandiose, but then like I look around at an empty movie theater, you know, it's like nobody is here to experience this like this attempt at like a shared human connection. Like, yes, everybody who's watching this movie will pledge their allegiance to Earth for a better tomorrow. And it's like me and my husband and an old guy who's asleep in front of us and a guy who's at the very back of the theater who I guess just wandered in. Just
the first two lines. I pledge allegiance to our human family. It's like something an alien would write.
It's the alien pledge. It's great. It's great. Honestly, it's like, you know, we said it at the top, but I recommend this movie. Like, even if you've just listened to us talk about this for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, like, you should see it. You should see it because there's so much that we haven't talked about or forgot.
Yeah, you will watch this and you will still be like surprised by shit that happens in the movie. Like there's so many like little nuggets left for you to watch. Yeah.
It's a movie that goes by so fast that like you're like you simply can't keep it all in your head.
Like, yeah, it's like a roller coaster. It's watch it. It's insane. It's fun.
Fun for sure. Well, okay. I will say the second half. There was multiple times in the second half where I like was debating whether or not I should pull my phone out and see how much was left because it gets kind of dull in the second half. But the first half is fucking
I will
awesome.
I will say, and I don't give him enough credit. I will not. I'm not gonna give Francis Ford Coppola any credit for this, but in a weird way, it really is like a play where you can watch the exciting first half, and then the second half, go pee, go use the restroom, get some more popcorn, refill your drink, go out, maybe have a smoke, talk to your friends, and then you can come back for the second half.
And you probably haven't missed much.
Yeah, you won't miss much.
So other than that,
I'm not, like I said, I'm not gonna say he was smart enough that this was put in the movie on purpose, but it works out almost like a Shakespearean play where it's like, yeah, it's all boring in the middle, but you can go, leave, grab a snack, come back, and you're just fine.
For sure. One thing I think, we're winding down here. We're not much. There's not much more we can say about the movie, to be honest. The only thing I think I still want to bring up as like a generic sort of or a general thing is that this movie has been compared to one Neil Breen's work, and I've seen every Neil Breen movie, and it's something that I was really thinking about because I don't know if I 100% agree with it, but there are definite parallels. Here's what I'll say. This is a bit of a Twin Peaks reference, but Neil Breen is the Black Lodge and Megalopolis is the White Lodge of cinema. Neil Breen is this kind of movie, but like the evil side of humanity. Neil Breen movies are about the entire world being corrupt and evil, and the only person who can save us is Neil Breen, who's going to come in and kill all the evil people and make the world a better place because he's going to rid the evil himself. And it's like very dour and not looking, not positive. This is like that, where there is a guy in the movie who is going to save the world, but it's got a much more positive vibe.
He'll build a utopia, and he's smart and educated, and he'll help everybody. And he's a good person, and he's so smart, and he gets the Nobel Prize.
Yeah. So that's all I wanted to say about that, is that I do see the Neil Breen comparisons, but I think it's two sides of the same coin. I think it's the evil side and the good side. And they both are just complete ego projects by, people who have enough money to make a movie. One is barely enough money, and the other one is too much money.
It's $120 million.
Yeah, two sides of the same coin, if you ask me. Do we have anything else that anybody would like to say before we adjourn this journey through cinema?
For this movie, I don't know, like.
I feel like we covered what we could, I feel like we got in there, we talked about it, we said what was good, what was bad, what worked, what didn't work. It's a movie that's worth discussion, and I think that's what makes it special.
Worth discussion, but it's also really, like you said, shallow.
Yeah,
so
but it's the shallow. It's like the bizarre circumstances.
There's not a lot. It's less. It's not like a meaty rib. It's more like biting into a Slim Jim.
Yeah, exactly. This is the Slim Jim of movies. Because, but what I'm saying is that I think that's the conversation. The fact that we are able to talk about this movie for 2 hours is why it's special, because you can go to the theater and you can watch Ant-Man and the Wasp or whatever, but are you going to have anything to talk about with your friends a week after you're done seeing that movie? I don't think so. This is something special. Megalopolis is a once in a lifetime opportunity to experience something that will probably not get made for a very, very long time again.
We'll see what James Cameron's cooking up.
Fucking Avatar 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Getting really old, and I think he might want to pull in every favor and dump a bunch of movie in something. It's just eventually.
Yeah, I don't know if James Cameron would ever go off as much of a deep end as this movie does, but I remember after seeing it, I was just like, yeah, I feel like this is what movies would be like if literally anyone could make a movie and money wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
They're just like, I want this idea I have. Okay, I'm just gonna do it, and you don't have to pay anyone, and nothing costs anything. You literally do whatever you want. That's what this movie feels like to me. It's like all the pieces are there. It's just nothing works.
It's stream of consciousness without refinement, and for better or worse, I think that both makes it interesting and is kind of its Achilles heel in a way. Like, it makes it a bad movie, but it makes it an interesting movie.
It's like I remember walking out and I was just like, I've been in so many, like, I mean, the only time that I really get to talk to like a person in their like 50s or 60s who's a stranger is usually when I'm in like an Uber or taxi or something. And then I left and I was like, I feel like this is what like every like random like 57-year-old Uber driver who just randomly started talking to me about their ideas that they had. I feel like this is the movie that they would make if it just cost $0 to make a movie.
You plucked a fully formed feature film from their head just magically.
Yeah, this is, if your uncle, Francis Ford Coppola channeled all of our uncles
at the same time. He has become the world's uncle.
Yeah.
I literally had, when I was in San Diego, it happens more in America than Canada, when I take an Uber and they just start talking to me and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And I had a discussion with an Uber driver in like San Diego who looked like Vin Diesel. He was just like kind of buff and like bald and like he was like looked like he was in his 50s. And he was like, this was when TwitchCon was happening, so he was like, what do you do? What is this Twitch thing? And then he was like, and then I explained it to him and he was like, you know what? I feel like I could probably, Twitch stream my, me going through my day. What if, there's a problem with the car, I go get the car fixed.
Oh, fuck,
I feel like people want to go see that, because like, life's about like the little challenges and like, everyone just wants to, see how someone else solves their problems, and I feel like that's all life is. And I might get some haters, but the haters don't matter. And I was just like, I was listening to him, I'm like, and I was like, yeah, I feel like he could have easily been like, I got an idea for a movie, and it would have been this movie, and he would have explained it to me.
It's set in New Rome, which is a lot like New York, but it's
different.
Like
it's different this time.
Yeah, he's like, I have an idea for a movie.
The character named Caesar, who, if I could pick anybody, I guess I would pick Adam Driver. He's a he used to be in the Marines, I respect him a lot. Like, it sounds like the kind of plot that someone like that would come up with. There's like, yeah, it's about this guy that like, he's got ideas, but then like, people hate on him, but then he does his ideas anyways because he's like motivated.
Congratulations, Scorpio. You've boiled down the movie into its bare essentials with like that is like, you've summed up the entire film in like 2 sentences. The forwards, the backwards, you nailed it.
Yeah, I would watch that guy's streams.
Yeah, maybe you changed the trajectory of that guy's life. Who knows? He might be streaming right now.
By the end, I was convincing him to do it. I was like, "Yo, it's free.
You
sign
should do
up."
it.
Yeah,
Fuck yeah.
And he starts going on the Google Play Store to download the app while we're driving.
Oh,
and
okay.
I'm like,
Well, maybe don't do that. I don't know.
Can you not do this while we're on the road, dude?
Holy shit! All right. Well, hopefully he's still safe out there, random Uber driver.
Yeah, it was fine. Yeah, my departing words are, the Megalon is not safe. Concrete, and steel are safe.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my gosh. We could be here forever. We could. I wonder if a director's commentary will come out for this movie.
Oh my god, I would love that.
That'd be so insightful.
Yeah, go watch it. Just go watch it. Like, is it a good movie? No. But you're not gonna see a movie like this for a while.
It doesn't have to be good. It just has to be interesting. That's all that matters.
it's a bad movie that's guaranteed to be more interesting than anything else out right now, and then maybe anything else for the next 3 years.
I absolutely want to watch it again when it comes to streaming. Like, I want to, I think we need to, I think we all, I mean, I want to show everybody, I think we need to, like, you know, buy everybody a ticket and not do any sort of illegal activity like streaming things on Discord. But, you know, we should do that whenever it comes to streaming. Well, that's going to be our discussion of Megalopolis. Thanks for sticking around.
I feel like we weren't able to say anything about the movie, but then the movie itself doesn't have
I feel like
a lot,
we got in there, you know? What else? We discussed the plot, the characters, the themes. I feel like we did a pretty good, I feel like we got a well-rounded sort of thing. Again, like, if we went through the movie, like, if we had the movie playing and could pause the movie when something happens and talk about it, it would be a 9-hour stream. Like, there's that much shit to go over, but at least this is what, you know, this is what we could remember 2 weeks out from the movie, so yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you liked this first and potentially only episode of Movie Friends. I don't know if we'll ever do this ever again. This could just be a one-off. Who knows?
I mean, whenever we end up watching the same movie again, I guess.
We'll do it again. We'll do another 2-hour discussion about Megalopolis in like 3 months. This is the show where we rewatch Megalopolis twice a year and talk about it again. This, but with the Channel Awesome movies. I don't think you could talk about those for 2 hours.
I know I wouldn't want to talk about those for 2 hours.
I don't think
the DVDs.
That's true. I do have the DVDs against my own will. I was sent the DVDs to my house. I'm just holding them. But yeah. Thanks for watching. That's gonna be it.
Did you have fun?
Yeah, you have fun. You like it. If you liked it, leave a comment, like, and subscribe. And just try waking up every morning and doing the Pledge of Allegiance to education, so that let's get it trending, you know? Like, if you are in school, instead of saying the regular pledge, try saying that one. And maybe we can build a better world where there are glass orbs and people movers and flower houses.
Yeah, the flag.
And no low-income housing. Zero. We blew it all up.
The flag? I will instead pledge to our human family.
For liberty, what is it? For education and love for all. Or whatever it was. Okay. Bye-bye, everybody. I'm turning the stream off now. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.